FirstEdge customers only. Active promo, regular rates apply. Gig Wi-Fi requires gig internet and compatible router.
Nothing slows my little girl down, except a stuffy nose.
Mommy.
That's why I use Sinex Children's Saline from Vicks. Sinex instantly clears mucus in everyday stuffy little noses with a gentle, ultra-fine mist designed for kids. Just Sinex? Breathe. Her stuffy nose is gone for now. And so is she.
Sinex Children's Saline. Sinex, breathe. Use as directed, keep out of reach of children.
The AAA Eagles MVP membership is in full flight. Eagles MVP members receive all of the amazing benefits of AAA, along with Eagles rewards and experiences no Eagles fans will want to miss. Get discounts at the Eagles Pro Shop, chances to win tickets to every home game, pre-game sideline passes, exclusive invites to MVP events, and more. Join now and new members will get a $20 gift card to the Eagles Online Pro Shop, and you'll be immediately eligible to win Eagles rewards. Go to AAA.com/Eagles for details and join the flock today.
Nothing brings families together like a world-famous tomato pie from Corpolese Bakery and Deli. 4 generations of pride go into everything on the Corpolese menu, including hand-carved deli meats and cheeses, freshly baked breads, rolls, cookies and pies, hoagies and party trays, specialty cakes and stromboli. Go back to a better time at Corpolese Bakery and Deli in Norristown, Audubon, and Limerick. Want to join the Corpolese family? Apply today at corpolesebakery.com.
We're introducing Wendy's newest addition to the morning lineup. Say hello to Wendy's all-new English muffins. They are here and they are ready for breakfast. Choose between our tasty grilled sausage, a fresh cracked egg, and gooey cheese, or that applewood smoked bacon, fresh cracked egg, and gooey cheese. All of that comes sandwiched between a warm English muffin. These English muffins are the perfect way to start the day. All you got to do is pick one. Grab an English muffin for breakfast this morning. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's breakfast at participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours.
That ding can mean any number of things. Find out at your local Meineke and save $10 when you spend $50, $20 when you spend $150, and $50 when you spend $400. For tires, brakes, batteries, exhaust, and more, trust Meineke, doing car care right.
You found the perfect woman. Now it's time to find the perfect ring. Family Company Jewelers has been South Jersey's diamond destination for over 80 years. And with more than 1,000 5-star reviews from satisfied customers, myself included, you are guaranteed to walk out with a ring that will make her say, wow. Visit their showroom on Route 70 in Marlton, New Jersey, or shop online at FamilyJewelers.com.
Family and Company Jewelers, South Jersey's diamond destination.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients. Today, Morgan & Morgan has more offices, more staff, and more lawyers than any other injury firm in the world.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
The Fanatic's Business of Sports is powered by Peco for Business.
The Washington Commanders want a new stadium, and the Washington Commanders may end up at the RFK site in Washington, D.C. And here's the big kicker to the story. They may use federal dollars to renovate that entire site so the Commanders can put their stadium there. It's one thing when a city like Philadelphia helps to build a stadium. It's another when the feds get involved. Businesses of all types and sizes are saving money with Peco because Peco's got the financial incentives and technical expertise to help you reduce your energy use and to save cash. See how Peco's helping businesses like yours take greater control of their energy costs to improve their bottom line. Simply complete a customer survey on Peco's digital portal and an energy profile. The report will be generated for you, and this profile is going to provide specific recommendation based on your facilities, equipment, and energy use with great ways to save while either maintaining or increasing productivity.
WPEN Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station. Official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5, The Fanatic. Win $1,000 right now. 97.5, The Fanatic's Kelly Green Cash.
Yes, your chance to win $1,000 and a brand new 2023 Birds Kelly Green jersey, which I saw all over the place last night. Text the word WONDER to 45911. That's WONDER, WONDER, to 45911. Or you can enter it on the Fanatic app or at 975thefanatic.com. One winner selected at random will win $1,000 in this company-wide contest. Winners will get a call from Beasley, so be sure to answer your phone. Complete rules at 975thefanatic.com. 97.5 The Fanatic's Kelly Green Cash is presented by Rand Spear, the accident lawyer. Demand Rand. Call 1-800-90-LEGAL. Please never text and drive. Good luck. Tuesday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salchunas, 97.5, the Fanatic Midday Show. And it's another win. 3-0. The Birds beat Tampa Bay last night, 25-11, improving their record to 3-0. Was it the prettiest of games? No, but they got another win. And I see Rob Grussman, the incredible engineer that's down here at Coco's Crush Bar and Grill in sunny Clearwater with me, shaking his head. But a win is a win, Gruss. The Eagles are 3-0 to start the season. And look, after weeks 1 and 2, I think there were a lot of people that were nervous, and I don't know how much yesterday helped, but I do think there is more positive signs from yesterday's game as opposed to the first two. Okay? The first two games, they win. There are areas in the defense, areas on the offense, areas in special teams where you're going, all right, this needs to improve, this needs to improve, this needs to improve. There's areas in coaching, offensive game plan, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, Nick Sirianni. There were a lot of things in weeks 1 and 2 where you could point to and go, all right, they have a lot of room to improve. But yesterday was a bit better. The defense was dominant yesterday, okay? And don't give me the whole, well, I mean, they played Baker Mayfield, so they should have been dominant. Because in the same breath, you'll say Kirk Cousins did too much against the Eagles, and Mac Jones did too much against the Eagles. Well, so they took care of business against a mediocre quarterback yesterday. Guy had no time whatsoever to make any good throws. And the defense played well. They played well in the secondary. Jalen Carter is an absolute beast. I saw an incredible stat from Ed Werder earlier this morning that I wanted to bring up to you just now. I'm just pulling it up right now on my computer. Jalen Carter, emerging as one of the most challenging defensive forces in the NFL. It's from Ed Werder. In 3 career games, Carter pressured the quarterback against double-team blocks 6 times this season, which trails only Micah Parsons, according to Next Gen Stats. So you have beasts up front, and we knew that was going to be something to be excited for coming into the season, and yesterday they really, really showed up. There was no ground game for Tampa Bay whatsoever. They couldn't do anything. The safety, they had no push at the line of scrimmage. Defensive line, they ate. It was awesome. The secondary was good. I think it was a good move to move James Bradbury into the slot and have Josh Jobe go out on the outside. We talked about that yesterday. And if you look at what the Bucs did yesterday, Chris Godwin, 3 catches, 32 yards. So I would say, congratulations. Good call, Sean Desai. That was your first big test, your first big move as a defensive coordinator for the Eagles, and you hit that one out of the park. And then Darius Slay, he gave a touchdown to Mike Evans, but Evans, a normal day, 5 catches, 60 yards. And Darius Slay did well. Josh Jobe did a good job on the outside. So the Eagles' secondary played well yesterday. Reed Blankenship with the interception. It was good to have him back. You guys know how I feel. I don't think he's Ed Reed Blankenship. I just think he's Reed Blankenship. But we saw him last week when he didn't play, how much it affected the Eagles' secondary. So we can't ignore the injuries that they dealt with last week, and we can't ignore the fact that they played a lot better last night. So I'm very excited about what the defense was able to show you. Now to the offense. DeAndre Swift is incredible. He's your lead back, okay? Do we even have to discuss that anymore? I really need Nick Sirianni to realize that he's the lead back, 16 carries, 130 yards, second leading rusher in the NFL after barely playing in week 1. Kenneth Gainwell really did nothing for you yesterday, 14 carries, 43 yards. DeAndre Swift is emerging as the lead back for this team, and he is great with this offensive line. Right, we always talk about guys like Boston Scott, how they're little dudes and they can hide behind the offensive line. Well, DeAndre Swift can do that too, but he's also more talented. He can be a lead back, and he was a lead back in Detroit last year, but he had all his touchdowns stolen from him, okay? Kind of happening this year too with Jalen Hurts and the tush push, but that's a conversation for another day. DeAndre Swift is emerging as your lead back. I'm not trying to bring Kenneth Gainwell down, but that should be a moment last night where Nick Sirianni goes, all right, we'll just stick with Swift moving forward. They look great. A.J. Brown had a spectacular game yesterday, and he even dropped 2 touchdown passes. Thanks a lot, because the parlay would have been nice. But we'll whatever. I'm not going to get personal about it. Anyways, A.J. Brown, there you go. A.J. Brown had a great game yesterday, his best game of the season. And this was coming off of what we saw last week, where he was upset on the sideline with something. We don't know exactly what it was. He claimed that it had nothing to do with targets. It was something that happened earlier in the game. Who knows? Who knows what it was? But all I know is Jalen Hurts, who didn't necessarily have the best day throwing yesterday, still connected with A.J. Brown 9 times for 131 yards. So a good game for A.J. Brown. Great game for the defense. I talked about every level of the game, every level of the team the first 2 weeks where there was areas of improvement. We had Britton Covey actually return some punts. Decent returns. Braden Mann, he actually put the Bucs inside the 20. Siposs doesn't do that. So all of a sudden, we see little improvements in a couple areas of the game. Now there's Jalen Hurts. Flu-like symptoms is what was reported yesterday. He didn't play great, okay? I know he threw for 277, and I will say this. If A.J. Brown catches one or two of those touchdown passes that he drops, it's a different story. So he would have probably thrown for over 300. He would have had 2, maybe 3 touchdown passes. But in the in the end, when you watch Jalen Hurts yesterday, there's something off. Now, it could just be the flu-like symptoms, right? But he didn't have the flu in the first 2 games of the season, and he didn't really play up to the standards that we saw last year through the first 2 games of the season. The first interception that he throws yesterday, I'll chalk that up to miscommunication, right? Like, he threw it right to the defender. DeAndre Swift was in the area, and DeAndre Swift wasn't even looking. So I'll go miscommunication there, right? New player on the team, didn't play week 1. And then all of a sudden in week 3, you're trying to throw him the football, and it just goes right to the Buccaneers defender. It wasn't even close. That second pick was bad. The second interception, back foot, floated it up there, and that thing hung up there for a long time. All right? It was not a good throw. And that's something that, look, he did one read, right? He was looking at A.J. Brown the entire time there, and then he was on the back foot, and then he threw it. I know there was pressure in his face, but it was not a good football throw. And one of the things that we pride with Jalen Hurts is that he is safe with the football, that he is smart with the football. And that wasn't his best throw. Now, am I going to sit here and panic? No. The dude's a gamer, right? We know that this guy's going to work his rear end off. He takes full accountability for the mistakes that were made. But there are some things that need to be fixed. And I know that we love Jalen Hurts. We love Jalen Hurts, the person. We love Jalen Hurts, the player. He's the franchise quarterback. He got paid the big money. There's a lot of people that are feeling sorry for him because of the flu-like symptoms. And I'm with you. But let's not ignore the fact that weeks 1 and weeks 2 weren't his best games either. But in the long run, he has not done anything that has been such a detriment to the team where they would have lost the game. They are 3-0 to start the season. And that alone should make you feel good, because it could be worse, right? Cincinnati finally pulled out their first win. They're 1-2. And we always talk about Eagles, Bengals, Eagles, Bengals, Eagles, Bengals. It would be much worse if you're 1-2. The Birds are 3-0 to start the season. How much would we be freaking out the Eagles lost yesterday? Just like the Dallas Cowboys lost to the Arizona Cardinals. You know, you could compare teams within your division and you go, all right, well, the Eagles haven't really played all that great. The Cowboys looked dominant through the first 2 weeks, but then crapped the bed in week 3 against the Cardinals. The Eagles have shown slight improvements each week where I go, all right, we're getting there. Do I expect people all week long to say EAGLES and go Birds and, wow, they look great? Well, no, I don't expect that. I expect people to criticize the team this week, as there are areas that we should. But for the most part yesterday, I saw areas improvement in multiple facets of the game, and now we just have to wait for Jalen Hurts to play like the Jalen Hurts we saw last year. Now, a few weeks ago, I did a topic. Connor Thomas was producing the show. Ray's with me now. And I asked Connor, I was like, is it fair to say that I expect Jalen Hurts to have a step back this year? And, of course, you hear regression, you hear step back, and oh, my God, this guy's a hater. No, I meant instead of being the second best player in the NFL, which he was last year, he finished second in MVP voting, maybe he takes a step back to, like, the 5th best quarterback. Like, I did not expect him to be as damn near perfect as he was last year. And so far through 3 weeks, he has not been perfect. But I do know who this guy is. And he's the only person that you're going, all right, there's still a little bit of areas of improvement for him that we need to see. And I expect that to happen. The number to climb in today is 610-632-0975. It's a reaction day. It's a Tuesday. Eagles play Monday night. They're 3-0. The place was rocking last night in Tampa. Right? We're at Raymond James Stadium, and I would say it was about 50-50 Eagles-Bucs fans. I will say there were some cool Bucs fans, and then there were some frauds, but, you know, I don't want to speak out of turn when I'm in Florida right now. But for the most part, man, that building was rocking yesterday with Eagles love, and that fires me up. It was a lot of fun last night. Can't wait to talk more about the game. Can't wait to talk more about my interaction with some Bucs fans yesterday that just kind of made me laugh and said, oh, my God, you are naive to a lot of things. But let me get your thoughts on last night's game, how you're feeling so far through 3 weeks. The Eagles are 3-0. Doesn't have to always be pretty. And yesterday was a little bit prettier. Jalen Carr's a beast, man. I can't wait to talk about it. Ray, I'm going to get your thoughts on the other side, but I also want to hear from you on the phone. 610-632-0975. I'm Andrew Salchunas, and this is 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Eagles moved to 3-0. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Macy's Backstage. What will you find at Macy's Backstage? Here's a hint. Fall finds for $25 and under, like sharp blazers, cozy sweaters, cargo pants, jackets, and more. Find the latest trends and new arrivals at a Macy's Backstage store near you. The Eagles beat the Buccaneers 25-11 on Monday Night Football. Another big night for
97.5, The Fanatic.
1019, 97.5, The Fanatic. I'm Andrew Salchunas on a Reaction Day Tuesday after the Eagles beat the Bucs last night in Tampa. 10 o'clock hour brought to us by Window Nation. Take advantage of Window Nation's 50% off sale on all style windows, plus make no down payment with no payments and no interest for 12 full months. Call 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com. So, look, there were areas of improvement for the Eagles yesterday, which excites me. The defensive front was dominant yesterday. They were incredible. Jalen Carter is an absolute beast. They got pressure off the edge. They got interior pressure. The secondary played really well. The corners played really well. I'll again give a lot of credit to Sean Desai. Sean Desai makes the decision yesterday to move James Bradbury to the slot and keeps Josh Jobe on the outside after Jobe filled in for Bradbury in week 2. And Bradbury locked down Chris Godwin yesterday. So the Eagles had a dominant performance defensively. That's why the Bucs only scored 11 points. The Eagles provided 2 points of their own with the safety. And then the offense, there were good things, and I'm not going to say bad things. Like, I don't think Jalen Hurts had a bad game. I think that second interception was a bad throw. The first interception, there was something going on there, not lack of communication, but miscommunication between Jalen Hurts and DeAndre Swift. So I'm not going to pin that one on Jalen Hurts. And again, if A.J. Brown catches 2 touchdown passes that he drops, the numbers look a little bit different. And not that we should base things off of numbers. We should base things off of what we saw. But, it would change the story a little bit if those 2 touchdown passes were caught by A.J. Brown. But in the end of it, look, Jalen Hurts does need to improve his game this year. I'm not panicking. I hope nobody's panicking. But it was a better day for the Birds yesterday. Ray Dunn producing the show. Ray, I was in the building. So what was it like for the broadcast? You texted me something that was outrageous. You said that the broadcast was talking about it being 101 degrees on the field.
They flashed a graphic where it said it was 90 degrees out, and it felt like 101. And I was like, I thought they were talking today about how beautiful it was down there. No one mentioned this stifling humidity that's going to ruin them and make them feel awful.
So it was hot leading up to the game. We got to the tailgate, the Philly Sports Trips tailgate. Bob, Pat, and I got there around 4. It started at 3 o'clock. And it was hot, right? Like, you tried to find as much shade as you could. But come kickoff, like, it wasn't bad. And there was a storm coming. So it was actually somewhat breezy. And then once the rain started falling, my dad texted me. He goes, are you dry? I was like, no, but I'll be honest, I don't care, man. It feels pretty good. So I don't know where they got that from.
I don't know. Maybe they didn't correct it from the last time they were in Tampa. I mean, that's just weird for them to broadcast that. But in terms of what the broadcast gave you, I can tell you Troy Aikman loves this Eagles team. Whether or not he wants to admit to himself he loves this Eagles team, they were pretty smitten on what the Eagles have this season. And I think it's just going to show, again, they look at it similar to the way we do of this team is really good and it hasn't even come close to reaching anywhere close to their ceiling yet.
Yeah, like I just saw a tweet from Good Morning Football. I think it's Jamie Erdahl, right? Is she on Good Morning Football?
Yes.
She said something to the extent of the Eagles have won their games, but the 49ers have beaten their teams, right? And it's like, all right, well, actually the 49ers didn't really destroy the Rams, but whatever. But I don't really care about that right now. Like, through 3 weeks, I don't care about that. If it's week 7, maybe we'll start having that conversation. But through 3 weeks, and when you've seen slight improvement every single week out of the Eagles, I go, all right, this, like, enough with this 49ers love, which bothers me. It really does, but whatever. We're going to hear that all season long. But from the broadcast, right, what were they saying? How did it look on TV? Because I saw a game where there were things that could have been better. I questioned the Kenneth Gainwell, DeAndre Swift splitting of carries, which we'll talk about later on in the show. But for the most part, man, I saw a defense that ate yesterday. And I saw a quarterback that could improve a little bit. I don't know. Did he look sluggish on TV? They were talking about the flu-like symptoms.
Yeah, that's the thing. The flu-like symptoms coming out afterwards, you try and start to rethink everything you watched of like, whoa, maybe I wasn't seeing what I was supposed to when it came to this. I just saw a quarterback that still doesn't seem, and the word you use, sharp, is optimal for me. Like, that's the word I think with this. He just doesn't look as sharp as he was. Is there still the flashes there? Obviously, the Zacchaeus touchdown is awesome. Like, that throw, that's like what you expect at him. And there's a couple other things where you get like the flash of it. But even just sitting there, my buddy's saying, hey, he runs for 8 yards and slides. Like, is this like a concerted effort to protect him? I was like, I feel like this is kind of, him still getting his legs under him, beginning to see some of these things. Like, he's just trying to figure out where to play, how to play it. I don't know if they're keeping him more in a box of like, hey, we want to protect you. We want you to protect yourself. But I think there's certain things about his game that you look at it, and it's not necessarily a step back, but it hasn't taken the step to the level at which you expect it. And I don't think that's necessarily a cause for concern, but a cause for just keeping an extra eye on it for the next couple of weeks, because it does, like you said, with kind of this flu-like symptoms. I don't think it's so much that as it is just the quarterback that we've seen so far through 3 weeks doesn't match the one you expect and the bar you set for him after last season.
Like, let's be honest, that second interception had nothing to do with flu-like symptoms.
No.
All right, he was on his back foot. Like that, any quarterback, fully healthy or not, that's a bad throw. But it's, that was his one really big bad play in a game. And so I'm not going to sit here and start going, oh my God, can't believe they paid him all that money. No, I'm still very confident in Jalen Hurts moving forward. I'm excited to continue to see him grow as this season progresses, especially with the new offensive coordinator. Like, that's something that's no joke. He's got a new OC. Yes. He's got to figure all this out. But I saw there were some moments where you talked about, a concentrated effort to try to keep Jalen Hurts safe and sliding. I'm cool with that. Like, I am. Yeah. But I did see yesterday a concentrated effort seemed to keep him in the pocket. And maybe that was something they really worked on during this 10-day layoff before the next game, because he, of course, had to still move around because that's what he does, and he's incredible at it. But I saw some more times where he stood tall in the pocket, which is something that we hadn't seen the first 2 weeks. It seemed like he felt a little bit of pressure and then started dancing. So it looked like he stood a little taller in the pocket at times last night. But again, man, I'm not freaking out. The defense, dude. Oh. Like, Jalen Carter's a freak, man.
Dude, the fact that he ended up here, we're going to be sitting here for years, I think, talking about. Like, him ending up an Eagle and him patching the hole of them losing Hargrave and honestly being better against the run than I've ever seen Hargrave be. Like, as a pass rusher, yeah, Hargrave is a really tough bar to get to, but Carter gives you so much. And Davis looks way more comfortable with him next to him. Like, that front right now, and it's really contagious because those two start to get going and those two start to really create problems at the center, and the next level is able to step their game up just because there's not as much time for Baker to throw the football, and also because when they're trying to get after the run, two dominant guys in front of you are allowing Cunningham and Morrow to just get a nose to the ball and find their way into backfields, and it's really making a difference where, this morning, on the morning show, people are calling and saying, wow, Cunningham flashed, or, I thought Morrow looked nice, and it's like, yes, I don't want to take credit away from them, but credit should be given to the guys in front of them. They're making their jobs that much easier to do, and it is so much fun to watch Carter and Davis operate.
Oh, it's like Jalen Mills and Ronald Darby in 2017, right? Like, they weren't great corners, but they had an incredible defensive front.
Yes.
They had a lot more, didn't have to defend their wide receivers as long because the front four was getting home every single play, it seemed like. So, yeah, I mean, they look good yesterday, and they're going to make the plays that they need to make, and we're all excited to see Nakobe Dean come back in a couple weeks, but it's a good sign that the front's getting home like that. I want to revisit something yesterday. I'm going to get to the phones in a second, 610-632-0975. Yesterday, I asked you, Ray, and, I gave my answer. I had some people call in and give the answer. What was the thing you needed to see last night to start making you feel a little bit better? Now, my answer was for Jalen Hurts to keep his eyes upfield. And there were some times where he didn't, but then there's some times where he did. And so I saw that slight improvement. The one thing that you said was you wanted them to finish drives. And in the first couple drives, they didn't. Remember, they didn't convert on the fourth down, then they get a field goal. But as the game went on, you saw them starting to convert, and as the game went on, again, I mean, A.J. Brown drops 2 touchdown passes, which stinks, but which would have been a different story. But you started seeing that in the second half, and that's, once again, adjustments made by Brian Johnson, who he did that last week. And look what they did. They started running the football, and he made that adjustment. I got to give him credit for doing that. You would like a smoother start at the game, but they ended up answering the call that you wanted.
Yeah, I just feel like it's kind of Groundhog's Day for me on what I'm watching with the first half. Like, I like the second half adjustments, which makes me focus on this first half, where especially, and I know people were upset, and I was sitting there like, I don't know why on 4th and 2 you're rolling Gainwell like that to try and make that happen on the opening drive, but that's 3 straight opening drives you get yourself in the red zone, and they only have 6 points over 3 games when you get in the red zone in the opening drive to show for it. That, to me, early on,
That needs to get better.
really, really bothers me. And I know I set the bar at 2 offensive touchdowns for the first half. And for some people, I think they thought that was a little like, all right, you're asking for a little much out of this group. I really thought with better execution, they would have gotten that easily. And I like the adjustments. The one thing I will absolutely give Brian Johnson, Jalen Hurts, this offense, they've made adjustments in the second half, and it's been part of the reason they've won football games, and that's great. I just would love to see them convert and get things going earlier and kind of clean up. And I think that's, again, where we come back to, are we nitpicking or are we just critiquing what we watched in front of us? And I feel like I'm just critiquing what I watched in front of me. I'm happy this team is 3-0. But I sit here with, I just need a little bit cleaner execution early on in games, because I think when you start to play the top teams, that's going to be the difference in controlling the game early on and being able to turn yourself into what you get with these second halves where they're able to, 9 minutes to run out a game. It was incredible to end that game.
Yeah, absolutely. They do got to, come out with touchdowns early on, because you'll see, they've benefited from playing ahead a lot in the first 3 weeks. Every single game, it seems like. Obviously, the Patriots game, they had the early 16-0 lead because of the turnovers by the Patriots, and then you saw that with Minnesota. You're up 27-7. But as we talk about the teams that you'll start seeing in the next month or so, it's going to be a little bit different. Like that Miami team. Do I think Miami's going to score 70 points every single night? No, of course not. But when you play Miami, you can't be settling for 3 early on. And I like that they went. I'll be honest. I would like that they went for it on 4th down yesterday on that opening drive. I didn't like the play call, but I do like that they went for it on 4th down, because I think that showed some aggression. The guy next to me was like, "Oh, this is why you got to take the points." Don't worry. The Eagles are going to win. Don't worry. I'm not even worried a little bit. But that was. I like the call. Well, I like the idea.
I like the idea of going for it.
Yeah, to get things started, being
absolutely.
aggressive early, and now you just got to convert. 610-632-0975. It is a reactionary day as the Eagles beat the Bucs yesterday, improving to 3-0. Once again, not the prettiest of games, but I did think it looked a little bit better, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And DeAndre Swift is just an absolute beast. Let's get to some calls. Let's go to Derek in North Philly. Derek, you're on the Fanatic.
Yo, what's going on, man?
What's up, D?
Yo, listen, first of all, I'm not to say that you didn't see what you saw with the interception, but if you go back, our receiver had the corner beat. That safety just made a great play. He was fast, and he just
he made a hell of a play, but that's because it floated up there for a while.
No, but I'm saying he was getting hit at the same time. He stood in the pocket and took the hit, so you got to brace for the hit. So you got to adjust for that. But if he wouldn't have if that safety even would have been floated, if that safety wouldn't have got there, that would have been a touchdown. Just look at it, because he had him beat by 2 steps, easy. So
but then it floated, and it gave the guy the time to get there. You and I might differ on this, and that's cool. I said it in the opening of the show that he did stand tall, and I give him credit for taking that hit as he released, but he still went back foot. And that's any quarterback. It's a mistake for any quarterback. I'm not just ripping Jalen Hurts. If Joe Burrow does a back foot throw, if Justin Herbert does a back foot throw,
all of them had bad. But I'm saying, but we making it seem like you say, hope he don't regress. That shouldn't even be in our thought process.
Yeah, see, people hear the word regress and they start, crapping their pants. I meant that he's not going to be the second best quarterback in the NFL this year, but top 5 is still good.
Right now, but you got to figure, he has to learn the plays that our new offensive coordinator is giving him. They're going to try things. And you seen when he audible out of some of that stuff, he was completing the passes. He's still seeing the defense, which is the key. He's still seeing what's happening, so that's a plus all in itself. But we can't make it seem like he's going to go backwards. Let's forget about all that.
I'm not saying that. I am not saying that. But you have to admit, through 3 weeks, it's not been what we saw last year, and I'm still expecting him to get better. I don't think this is who we're going to see for 18 weeks.
And I agree with that. I was more concerned with our defense, to be honest. Not the front line. It was more of the corners. I think he's adjusted good. So, to me, is looking good early. And we need to adjust. Like you say, we made a halftime adjustment, which was great. But they're going to get it together, man. They're going to be all right. Let them work out the kinks, but don't put in your mind that these dudes are not going to move forward. You know what I mean?
I'm expecting them to get better as the season goes on. And I'm thanks for the call, Derek. But they've also benefited from, let's face it, Patriots, Vikings, and now the Buccaneers. So they've benefited from that. And I know that we are diehard Eagles fans, and I'm excited that they're 3-0 too. But let's be honest with ourselves at times. It's okay. Like, we can be honest and say that they haven't looked as great as we saw them last year, right? We can be honest that the San Francisco 49ers have looked dominant in like 2 of the games. I'm not really going with that Rams game, but that last game against the Giants, they were, they could have scored 50 points if they wanted to. So it's okay to say, all right, there's room for improvement, and there is room for improvement in this team. The defense thing, I have not agreed with. So, I played that Darius Slay clip the other day, and maybe we'll play it again at some point just so people can hear what I'm coming from. They had early leads, and so defenses change their strategy. They're sagging off. They're playing 10, 15 yards off the line of scrimmage because they don't want the big play over their head. Now the front four is still going to have to get home, which they weren't really doing in the second half of games 1 and games 2. Yesterday they did that for 4 quarters. For 4 quarters, they made Baker Mayfield uncomfortable. And when your front four is getting home, your corners, who are talented, right? Darius Slay is a very good cornerback. And James Bradbury, again, I love that they moved him to the slot yesterday. I think that was a great decision. And Josh Jobe has shown that he can play in the NFL. The front four gets home every single play, it seems like yesterday. And so the corners are going to look a lot better. I'm not panicking about the corners. And we also have to remember, and I feel like we keep forgetting this, that James Bradbury was out last week. That Reed Blankenship was out last week. That Avonte Maddox left the game injured last week. 3 of your starting members of the secondary ended up leaving or were already out for the game. So, of course, Kirk Cousins, who is a professional quarterback, and Justin Jefferson, who's the best wide receiver in the NFL, they're going to have a big game against the banged-up Eagles secondary. Yesterday, you got some guys back healthy. Obviously, you're going to miss Avonte Maddox for the rest of the season. I really do like the decision by Sean Desai for moving Bradbury in the slot. And it worked out. Now, Ray, I think, was it you that kind of not questioned the decision, but it was kind of the concern of...
That was me.
Okay, because I then did pregame with Bob and Pat, so I did a lot of talking yesterday. It worked out for the Eagles yesterday.
It worked. And, hey, listen, that was one thing where I questioned the long-term viability of moving inside, moving outside, not really having, like, a set decision whether or not Bradbury can sustain an entire season inside the slot. The one thing I'll be able to say is, hey, that was the adjustment that worked. That made a difference in the game because, again, Godwin's not really a factor in this one, and you're not able to just quickly go over the middle, and Baker gets kind of bailed out by having a nice option there in the slot. So I think for what they were able to do, as much as I question the decision and what it means for this team going forward, in one game and making it work for one night, that was absolutely the right move. And I think watching Bradbury, I was sitting there like, yep, that's why Desai's coach of defenses, and I'm just talking about Desai's decisions.
Well, and here's the thing. They might not do it every single week where they're moving it. Like, maybe he does end up settling on the outside. We'll see. It depends. It might be a matchup thing. And it made sense yesterday because of the talent of Godwin, but also who the quarterback was, right? Like, Baker Mayfield isn't doing 7-step drops and keeping his eyes downfield and trying to make big plays. He also knows that he doesn't have the time to do that against this defensive front. And so maybe we do see a lot of Bradbury in the slot because teams are going to have to scheme against the Eagles' front four or the pass rush. And if they're bringing pressure almost every single play, the response to that for the opposing offense is to get the ball out quick. And so maybe you want your better corner in the slot.
I mean, that could be the way this ends up going, especially with what they've got over the middle right now and what you'd be looking for. Like, I honestly, the more I think about it, the more, like, yesterday as I was making my way home, thinking about what we had talked about, I was like, the Bradbury thing, I probably should ease up on that one because as much as I don't want to cause a problem on the inside, right now what teams are trying to do against the Eagles, it does make sense to keep that with that kind of setup and keep with that personnel until they find their real answer there. And some people didn't come away particularly impressed. I thought Jobe was fine, but some people didn't come away particularly impressed with him in the game yesterday. I thought it was a good enough effort from him where the secondary, I don't walk away from the early parts of the season really feeling concerned in what I've watched. Obviously, you're worried that at some point against better competition, they run into an issue, but I got to give just another hats off to Desai and the way they've been able to scheme this up with all the changes they had coming into the season and then all the personnel they've had to move around within the season already.
Yeah, week 2, you had 4 starters out at one point.
Like, they're the reason you're 3-0 right now.
They really are. They really are. And again, I knew that one of the first callers would be like, how dare you talk about Jalen Hurts and regression? No, I don't mean regression to all of a sudden he's going to be Baker Mayfield. But he's not playing like the quarterback we saw last year, and I'm going to give him time. I feel like I need to talk slower sometimes. I'm going to give him time. I'm not sitting here and saying, oh, my God, he's in trouble. Call Carson or call Matt Ryan. No, he's not Zach Wilson, right? We're not
Nick
the Jets.
Foles is available.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not doing that. All I'm saying is there are areas for Jalen Hurts where he needs to improve through 3 weeks. And then, of course, my man, I love Derek. He does, other quarterbacks make bad throws. Yeah, they do. I'm not talking about other quarterbacks right now. I'm talking about Jalen Hurts. And for 3 weeks, I've seen him make not so great throws. I've seen him also look better. You talked about the Zacchaeus touchdown yesterday. That was incredible. That was all on him. He made that play happen by himself, and that was the Jalen Hurts that we saw last year. And so when that touchdown happened, I was with Bob and Pat watching the game at the stadium yesterday. My initial thought was, ooh, maybe he's back. Maybe this is the moment. And, maybe all we need to do is look at good signs, which we started to see some better signs for Jalen Hurts yesterday. And, of course, there is the flu symptoms that he dealt with. So that's obviously real. And I'm sure, even though it wasn't 100 degrees like Joe and Troy tried telling you on the broadcast yesterday, playing in that humidity in Tampa, it's not going to feel great when you're dealing with flu-like symptoms. They're probably pumping him with all kinds of hydration, anything that they could do, any kind of fluids they can get in him just to make him feel better. But for the most part, you saw some better things from Jalen last night, but not enough for me to say that he is fully back. But I'm not panicking yet. I want to hear from you, 610-632-0975. If you were at the game yesterday. Now, I know a lot of us were here because of Vince from Philly Sports Trips, phillysportstrips.com. They're about to get on their flight. So I can't have one of the hundreds of Eagles fans that flew down with us on Friday to call in because they'll be busy on the flight. And so if you were down there, you're driving back or your flight's later, you took the extra day, or you live down here, because I know we talked to a lot of Eagles fans that live in the Florida area that went to the game. I want to hear your thoughts on the game yesterday and what it was like in that stadium, because I will say this. The stadium was cool, and I'll talk more about it next, but I also have to tell you some of the just incredibly ridiculous interactions I had. I tweeted them out a lot, so if you follow me on Twitter, you probably saw them. But the guy next to me, it was just sad. Like, it was just embarrassing, the guy next to me. Then the guy behind me said something ridiculous, the guy in front of us, and I get it. We're probably a little ridiculous when a team from an opposing city comes into the link. We probably say some crazy things. We're probably obnoxious at times, maybe. But Grossman says definitely.
Maybe.
But the guys yesterday, at least were smart. The stuff that they were saying, oh, God, it was just pitiful. Now, there were some great Bucs fans, but the people immediately around us, it was just embarrassing. I'll tell you some stories coming up next. 610-632-0975. Your thoughts on last night's game. The defense looked better. Hurts, still room to grow, but come on. We shouldn't be panicking yet. And don't misconstrue me and all of a sudden think that is there a quarterback controversy? Should we give Mariota a look? Like, nah, I'm not doing that. 610-632-0975. I'm Andrew Salchunas. This is 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Birds win big on Monday night. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Macy's Backstage. What will you find at Macy's Backstage? Here's a hint. Fall finds for $25 and under, like sharp blazers, cozy sweaters, cargo pants, jackets, and more. Find the latest trends and new arrivals at a Macy's Backstage store near you. The Eagles beat the Buccaneers 25-11 on Monday Night Football. Big night for St. Joe's Prep. Amalade Zacchaeus with his first touchdown as a Bird, and then DeAndre Swift continuing the good times, 130 yards rushing. A.J. Brown also finally getting involved big time, 131 yards on 9 receptions. Eagles defense played big once again this week. Reed Blankenship with the interception. Defense forced the safety and only allowing 4 yards per play against the Buccaneers. Hurts ran for a touchdown, threw for a touchdown, also had a pair of interceptions in the win that moved the Eagles to 3-0 for the second consecutive season. The Phillies can clinch a playoff spot tonight and the top wild card spot. Aaron Nola gets the ball against the Pirates as they open up a 3-game set. Once again, the magic number down to 1. Phillies with a chance to celebrate tonight in South Philadelphia. Keep it locked right here for all the latest news and information. I'm Ray Dunn for 97.5 The Fanatic.
Andrew Salchunas. All things Philadelphia sports. Touchdown! Coming up this morning at 10, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
This Fanatic Golf Report is brought to you by Parks Casino. This is how you win. The 2023 Ryder Cup matches will be held outside Rome this weekend with a strong U.S. team looking to defend their title and also win on European soil for the first time in 30 years. Europe is loaded too with John Rahm, Rory McIlroy, and FedEx Cup champ Victor Hovland. You can pick the winning team and the winning score, 28 points total. You can win a $200 prize package from Parks Casino and Callaway Golf. Go to 975thefanatic.com and enter now. Entries close at noon on Friday. Good luck. For The Fanatic, I'm Mike Rose.
The Excite Center at Parks Casino, the region's hottest live entertainment venue. Check out your favorite concerts, comedy, boxing, MMA, all at the #1 casino in Pennsylvania. Don't miss country superstar and 14-time Grammy Award winner Martina McBride as she brings her Joy of Christmas tour to Parks Casino on Saturday, December 16th. Tickets on sale now at parkscasino.com. Parks Casino, this is how you win.
Parks, Pennsylvania's #1 casino experience. This is how you win.
Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
We're back with another week of football, and DraftKings Sportsbook is keeping us in on the NFL action with great offers every single game day. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Throw $5 on any of this week's epic matchups to walk away an instant winner. And DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game day this September. Football's more fun when you're in on the action. So download the app now and sign up with the code FANATIC. New customers can bet just $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL with the code FANATIC. The crown is yours. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Get the one and done you want for your dog's monthly protection. New NexGard Plus, Afoxolon or Moxidectin and Pyrantel chewable tablets. Protects against fleas, ticks, heartworm disease, roundworms, and hookworms. All in one delicious beef-flavored soft chew. Use with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurologic disorders. Dogs should be tested for existing heartworm infection prior to starting a preventive. Ask your vet about new NexGard Plus chews.
Introducing the new Swiffer Power Mop, the all-in-one tool that gives you a mop and bucket clean in half the time. The solution's built right in, so no heavy bucket, and the pad has hundreds of scrubbing strips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop! Swiffer Power Mop!
Hey, if you're thinking about getting the latest iPhone, check this out. With Boost Infinite, you get the latest iPhone every year and unlimited wireless for just $60 a month. Yeah, you get the new titanium iPhone 15 Pro that was just announced. Then again, next year, you get the latest iPhone every year. Boost Infinite, infinitely better. To learn more, pick up your phone, dial pound 250 and say Boost Infinite. That's pound 250 and say Boost Infinite. Terms apply. After 30 gigabytes, service may be slow. Visit the comparable iPhone model each year with acceptable trade-in every year. Requires credit qualification and 36-month phone financing agreement. You'll have the option to receive a one-time auto-dial text message from iHeartMedia.
Exergen is the smart choice when selecting a thermometer. As children return to school, keeping them healthy is important. Got a fever? Stay home. To detect fever accurately at home, you need a fast, non-invasive, and clinically accurate thermometer. Exergen provides all of that and is backed by over 100 clinical studies. Accuracy matters. Be smart and safe. Measure temperature accurately with Exergen. Learn more at Exergen.com.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Babbel. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at Babbel.com/TNC.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard.
Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day, and they're fun, so you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
And now try Babbel free. Text radio to 64,000. Text radio to 64,000.
O'Reilly! Protect your engine against sludge and wear with a synthetic oil change. O'Reilly Auto Parts has 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil for $35.95. Plus, get a $5 O reward to use on a future purchase. Our professional parts people can also recommend all the supplies you need for your next oil change. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Wow, Total Wine really does have everything. I found your favorite bourbon, an awesome vodka, oh, and Ruthie.
Ruthie?
That's me. Always happy to help. Honey, Ruthie found that amazing Cabernet you loved.
Oh, yeah. That Cabernet was really good.
And we have it for the lowest price in town.
We've got to get another bottle. So glad we found Ruthie.
With the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More. Drink responsibly, be 21.
When you open the BetParks app, you're in the zone. Winning is always a rush, but the money is in the moments. It's the confidence and underdogs covering, the tension before a clutch turnover, and the pride of a parlay paying off. It's another chance to win big with all-day action. Plus, win your first $10 bet and get $125 in sports bonus bets. You play for fun, you love to win. You bet. BetParks.
Must be 21 in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Ohio, or Maryland. Gambling problem? 1-800-GAMBLER.
Nothing brings families together like a world-famous tomato pie from Corpolese Bakery and Deli. 4 generations of pride go into everything on the Corpolese menu, including hand-carved deli meats and cheeses, freshly baked breads, rolls, cookies and pies, hoagies and party trays, specialty cakes and stromboli. Go back to a better time at Corpolese Bakery and Deli in Norristown, Audubon, and Limerick. Want to join the Corpolese family? Apply today at corpolesebakery.com.
Hey, it's Cuz. Are you getting ready for a home improvement cleanup? The garage, the bathroom, big move? Let me tell you about the perfect solution, the Bagster. The Bagster, by far the most convenient, affordable way to help with your cleanup. The Bagster isn't just a great product. It's a 3 cubic yard dumpster in a bag sold at Home Depot, Lowe's, local home improvement stores everywhere, and for only $29.99. Holds 3,300 pounds of waste. Buy it, fill it, schedule your collection. Poof, it's gone. Clean it up with the Bagster dumpster in a bag.
WPEN Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station. Official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5, The Fanatic.
10:51, 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Andrew Salchunas, broadcasting live from Coco's Crush Bar and Grill in sunny Clearwater, Florida. We'll be flying back tonight, leaving paradise, even though Philly's kind of paradise. But it was a beautiful stay, hanging out with my man Rob Grussman to my left and hanging out with Bob and Pat and all kinds of great Eagles fans. And the Eagles fans showed up yesterday. The Eagles fans showed up to Raymond James Stadium, and I absolutely loved it. I'm not joking. So, Ray, you predicted 60-40 Bucs Eagles, but the louder fan base being the Eagles. I think it was more 50-50. And early on in the second half, people started leaving. Bucs fans started leaving. And it became like just the Eagles South, right? We talk about Philly's Citizens Bank Park South. This was Link South yesterday. And so the Eagles fans represented really well yesterday. And one of the coolest things, man, like this is, look, you get this at the Link after a win, but walking out of an opposing team stadium and hearing the Eagles chant over and over and over again, and it's loud, right? It was like echoing throughout the concourse. So it was really cool. Every touchdown, everybody's singing "Fly Eagles Fly" together as if we were at Lincoln Financial Field. So it was really cool yesterday. And I will say this: the stadium is awesome. So the pirate ship is really cool. I respected a lot of Buccaneers fans yesterday. We have our man Jamie Paggs, who you did the show with not too long ago, Ray, Philly sports guy. The amount of decked out pirates, like Buccaneers fans that were dressed as pirates, yes. And I go, you know what? I respect that, man. I do. And I think the entire production that they did was fantastic. And I know this is going to sound sacrilegious. I know. But hear me out, please. So Rondé Barber was honored yesterday. And he had a good speech because his opening line was, I'm trying to think whether or not I should say this or not, but just want to thank all the Eagles fans that came down here to support me. And it was a good line, right? Because everybody hates them, right? So everybody's booing them, right? So, it was and he worked the crowd well, right? So all the Eagles fans started booing back, and it was good. It was a nice little tit for tat with Rondé Barber and the Eagles fans that were there. But the whole production was great. They really obviously dive into the Pirates thing, and then when they do a first down, how the Eagles, we have the screech. They do first down Tampa, and then everybody shouts Bay at the same time. And I'm like, if this was a better franchise, that'd be kind of cool. Like, I'd be like, all right, I respect you guys, but
only a dozen of those last night for him. So
yeah, not many of those yesterday. And Baker Mayfield is not Tom Brady. Now this is where I question some Buccaneers fans, and you told me that we have a Bucs fan on line one, so I hope he knows that if you are a diehard Bucs fan, I'm not saying that all Bucs fans are frauds. But this guy next to me, so the second I sat down. It was me, Bob, and Pat. The second I sat down next to this guy, immediately starts talking trash, which that's fine, right? Like that's what you're gonna get. I'm sure we do that to a lot of people coming into the link, so I'm all about it. But then I got the real story, right? He's a Patriots fan who lives in Florida, and so he hates the Eagles because they beat his boy, Tommy Brady in the last Super Bowl that the Patriots and Eagles squared off in.
Do remember that one.
He hates the Eagles, but is now a Bucs fan because of Brady. So he changed his allegiance, even though he said he was still a Patriots fan. I was like, well, what do you think about the team and Mac Jones? Oh, well, I'm not really watching them this year. So you're a fraud, right? So you're going to the Buccaneers games, claiming that you're still a Patriots fan. You're only there because Brady was once there. So I was confused by him. I didn't know if he was a Bucs fan or a Patriots fan, because he told me he wasn't watching Patriots games anymore. So, that's just weird to me. Imagine doing that. Imagine you go, I'm not an Eagles fan anymore because, Donovan McNabb went to the Commanders. So, I'm going to watch them. That is so strange to me. I don't understand how you can be so easily grabbed by a quarterback. I get it, Brady's the GOAT, but come on, man, that's weird. So, he's talking smack all game long, and it's not working. The Eagles are winning, okay? It's not even a competition. And then there was a play, it was right before halftime, where they checked to see if A.J. Brown got out of bounds or not. Remember, they reviewed it, and it turned out he was still in bounds, so they had to call the timeout. Oh, no, they're reviewing to see if Lane Johnson false start.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? I was like, because it looked like he jumped, right? And the whole crowd went nuts and whatnot. And I'm like, well, you can't do that. No, yes, you can. They changed that this year. It's a new rule. I'm like, dude, that's not true. That is actually incorrect. No, trust me. Trust me. They changed it. This year, you can now challenge whether or not a player did a false start. I'm like, all right, dude.
That's not true.
That's not true at all. And then finally, when they made the call, because I said to him, I was like, nah, dude, I think they're checking to see, because they didn't make an announcement. So I'm pretty sure they're just checking to see if A.J. Brown has actually got out of bounds or not, or if he made the catch or whatever. And he's, no, it was false start. Okay, dude. And then he didn't really talk the rest of the game after that moment when he realized he was just incorrect. You're wrong, period. So there's that guy. Then there's a guy in front of me, another guy that confused me. This guy was in our face. He had Snapchat open, so he kept on getting me, Bob, and Pat on his camera, which I thought was weird.
I like that.
And
better angle
I'm like,
of the picture.
please leave me alone, dude. And so I'm finally we calmed down. Everybody calmed down a little bit because the Eagles were winning, and we're like, all right, where are you from, man? We're trying to be nice. Well, I'm from Jersey. I'm like, oh, you live there, or you're from here originally? No, I'm born and raised Jersey. So he's a Bucs fan, born and raised in New Jersey, had nothing to do with Tom Brady, right? So I don't even know how this happens. Probably that he liked the jersey or whatever, because we know people that like jersey colors or whatever. And so he's been chesty all game, and then halftime hits. He comes out, and at the beginning of the second half, 2 plays didn't go his way. He left, so he flew down from Jersey, Philadelphia International Airport, to Tampa. He said this is a dream of his. It's his first game ever, and he left 2 plays into the second half.
What?
I'm like, that's kind of sad, man. You spent a lot of money to get down here, and you're giving up that. And it's not like the Eagles were blowing them out. The game was still up for grabs, even though we all knew that it wasn't going to happen. But whatever. So there's that guy. And then the worst one, the guy behind us. So this was fourth quarter. I can't wait for you guys to play the 49ers. And I turn around, I'm like, really? You're more worried about us and the game that we have scheduled in December, by the way. It's not like we're playing the Niners next week or 2 weeks from now. The Eagles aren't playing the Niners until December 3rd. And this guy has the nerve to say, oh, I just can't wait for you to play the Niners. You're more worried about our team than your own. Because they were chesty all game, like, oh, we're 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. And then they fall to 2-1, and now they're more worried about the Eagles' future schedule. That's strange to me, Ray.
I hate all of those interactions equally. And I honestly, I don't know these people. They could be nice people in their lives, but I kind of hate them. I kind of hate their entire mentality, their entire mental makeup, whether it be false start guy and his
That was the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I'm telling you. Like, he was, like, getting angry. I'm like, that's all right. And his buddy that he was with was an Eagles fan, and he's trying to calm down. Like, no, dude, like, stop. Like, I don't think that's actually true. No, trust me. They changed it this year.
It's an embarrassment, though, to, like, a fan base in Boston that I despise, but I respect for what they've got. For him to claim to be a Patriots fan, that, like, Boston has to kind of now distance themselves from him, because if there's more of him like that are defectors, that's a disgrace. And
I know Brady's the GOAT, and Brady won all those Super Bowls, but so it was for the Patriots. Like, you had it pretty good. Yeah. And you're going to jump ship that quickly? Like, what are you doing? Well, no, I'm still a Patriots fan. I just don't really watch them as much because now that I'm down here.
That's gross.
I could not imagine. We have Eagles fans that live in different continents that are getting up at 4 a.m., depending on the time difference, to watch the Eagles. And this guy has the nerve to all of a sudden be and meanwhile, what was really fraudulent about this guy, he was doing all the chants, all the Bucs chants. Every time a player was introduced, like, they would scream the name, he was screaming it with them. So he's basically a Bucs fan now. And I found that, and he was wearing Bucs gear. Like, if you're a Patriots fan, rock the Brady Pats gear or something. It's just, I didn't like it. So there were some people I didn't like yesterday.
The 49ers guy, too. Like, what's your deal? Now all of a sudden you give up on the season? Like, oh, I would have... That
quickly.
I would have thrown, like, oh, our division stinks. So I guess we'll see you in January. Like, I'm not throwing the old, oh, I can't wait to see what happens when you play the 49ers. Also, why would you do the 49ers, man? We lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Start hitting us with the things that hurt. We beat the 49ers.
Or Miami. You go,
right.
Oh, man, you think this offense is nothing. You wait till Miami. But he waits till the December 3rd match. It was just weird. There were some people that I did not rock with. But then there were some good Bucs fans, all right? Like, that's everywhere. There was a couple Bucs fans that I had some nice, cordial conversations with. But what was annoying was the loudest ones were the ones that were ridiculous. The loudest ones were the ones that, A, wasn't actually really a Bucs fan. The guy that was from Jersey who never been to a Bucs game, and it was his first one, and then he left at halftime. And then the guy behind us that said, you just wait till you play the Niners. Like, those were the three loudest guys around us, and then that was it. And then there was one moment, I thought Pat was going to get smacked by a lady in front of us.
Who?
We were having just a normal conversation. Like, me, Bob, and Pat. I don't even think we were talking about the game at this point, right? It was like during the timeout or something. We were just talking about something. And she turns around and goes, what did you say? She was hammered. So, like, And Pat was like, nothing. I said, blah, blah. And she's like, that's not what I heard. And I was like, well, he didn't trust me. He didn't. And then she got mad at her, like, boyfriend or husband or whatever, because he didn't, like,
he had to jump in.
Well, but jump in on what?
Well, that's what I mean.
Pat didn't say, like, we were literally
she's in the wrong.
But I think we were talking about our flights today or something. And she just goes, what did you say? And then she was upset with the man she was with that he didn't, respond.
I've got a flight tomorrow. Oh, you want to fight me?
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. I don't know. It was strange. But anyways, it was a cool stadium and a great game. And the Bucs fans that did show up that were like legit Bucs fans, I give them credit. But Eagles fans took over yesterday, and it wasn't even close. Like, when it came down to the crowd noise, it wasn't even close. It was all Birds fans yesterday, and it helped that they were winning because we just got louder and louder and louder. And it was really cool leaving that stadium last night. 610-632-0975, the number to climb in. It's 11 o'clock. Time now for the Vault.
When we began opening this vault nearly 2 hours ago, we had no real idea what we'd find inside. As it turns out, we haven't found very much.
Vault presented by Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged the day after an Eagles game. Vault. So we got some highlights and some press conference sound. Ray, what do we have today?
All right, let's start off with the big throw and the big touchdown. Jalen Hurts getting the St. Joe's Prep grad on the board.
Hurts. Great protection. Time runs out. Touchdown. Zacchaeus. Great Gaines was there about a step too late on Jalen Hurts.
Hurts, and Hurts hung in. Well, that's just Jalen Hurts standing strong. The protection was great, but time ran out, and then Hurts just dropped it in.
So a couple things. One, you heard the crowd noise, right? Like it was
insane.
That was Eagles fans. Like that was, we took over the building yesterday, which was really cool. But the second thing, like that was Hurts's one of his best throws this year. That throw and probably the touchdown pass to Devontae Smith. The first one and the second one to Devontae Smith with the Patriots and the Vikings game. So those are a couple of his best throws this season.
Oh, absolutely. That was a good look from him, and he talked after the game a little bit about getting Zacchaeus involved and what that looks like.
You know, it looks different from week to week, you know, and I think as we continue to strive for our best, to be our best self, and we just continue to learn, you know, different guys will get involved in different ways, and different guys will have different roles. And so he did a great job of stepping up and making a play at a crucial moment of the game.
All right. Good play. Getting Zacchaeus involved. Oh, that was cool. But getting Zacchaeus involved was a big
DJ
deal.
Ray back here, I guess.
Yeah, it's good. But they need that, right? Because we all know A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. Quez Watkins banged up. This is an opportunity for Zacchaeus to play, and he scores a touchdown yesterday. It's cool.
That it was. Very cool. So that was good to see from him. Obviously, the prep guys with the big night, but also with the big night, this defense. And I'll take you to a pair of plays. Let's start with Reed Blankenship and the interception.
Down the middle, picked. Mayfield's first interception of the season. And it's Reed Blankenship doing the honors.
So there's Blankenship. It was a good play.
Let's follow it up.
Good job.
With another turnover. How about it?
Second and 21. Mayfield pulls it down. Rashad Wendy fumbled. Bradbury's got it for Philadelphia. And the offense for the Eagles comes right back after this punch out by Jalen Carter.
That was a great play by Jalen Carter. Coming from behind to make that play. I mean, he's just been an absolute beast. I read you the tweet earlier from Ed Werder and the amount of pressures that he's causing against double teams. It's just been incredible. It's just the second. He's only behind Micah Parsons. In 3 career games, Carter pressured the quarterback against double team blocks 6 times this season, which trails only Micah Parsons. That's amazing.
Not a bad start for the guy. Really not a bad start. And not a bad start for this defense. Nick Sirianni, a lot of praise heaped upon them, and it all goes back to those fundamentals.
I think what we're really doing well is playing with good fundamentals. And that will, playing physical. And those will take you through no matter what level of football you are. Playing physical and playing with good fundamentals will take you through Pee Wee football. It'll take you through, middle school football, high school football, college football, professional football. I think we're doing a nice job tackling. I think they're doing a really good job. And that's fundamentals. And the coaches and the players have worked hard after each practice, the time they've put into those fundamentals.
Love the good fundamentals, man. You need good fundamentals, and they showed that the last 3 weeks.
That they have. It's been good to see what they've gotten out of the defense. One of the best things we've seen out of the start of this season, of course, is the new iteration of the debate over the tush-push. And, well, if it doesn't work once, try it again, keep trying again. This time they try it at the goal line, and results, well, they don't really vary.
4th down and goal. They try and will likely try again. However many people this stadium holds, they're all expecting the same thing again, too. Hurts. Chuck it in. He's in. Touchdown, Philadelphia.
I'll say this. I'll give the annoying Bucs fans around me credit. They did not complain about the tush push.
That's nice.
Because there's a lot of tush push hate out there.
Which is dumb.
But the people around us, they did not say, oh, this play again. They respected it. So I'll give them, the annoying Bucs fans, not the ones that are good Bucs fans, the annoying ones, credit that they didn't complain about the tush push yesterday.
They could have put everyone in that stadium as a Bucs fan behind that defense to try and stop it. They weren't stopping it there on that 4th and goal. All right, let's move on to a little bit of conversation from Nick Sirianni on his quarterback and what he's seen from him early on this season.
I thought, obviously he's going to want those 2 interceptions back. I thought the guy made a really good play on the second interception, just being on the same page on the first interception. Again, it's always about communication, being on the same page. But I thought, he took completions that were being given to him, spread the ball around. AJ had a really good game. Dallas, I thought, made some really key catches. Devontae had some big catches. And so I thought he did a good job of managing the game and playing a good game.
The term game managers, just people look at it in a bad light sometimes, and it's okay to be a good game manager, and that's what Jalen Hurts was yesterday. He didn't do anything super spectacular except for that Zacchaeus touchdown, and again, that first interception, I'm not putting that on him. I think that was just miscommunication between him and Swift. But for the most part, Jalen Hurts did manage the game well. And I know people go, you're calling him a game manager or system quarterback. No, I mean, the guy's got a lot of talent. But sometimes when you're not playing your best, and he really has in his first 3 weeks, he has ended up managing games well. And that's why we always talk about he's so smart and safe with the football that you go, all right, I believe that if he does throw a pick, like that second one, he's going to bounce back. He's not going to make another bad throw like that. So I like that out of Sirianni.
Oh, way to set this one up, because after that second pick, you got a pretty big play from the defense. You know what? It's kind of like just the throwing punt here, even though we don't love what ends up happening with it. The defense says, well, if you put them at the 1-yard line, we're going to make them pay if they run the football.
Extra size up front for the Bucs. I kind of like a shot here. They're not going to do it. They're just going to try to get them a little breathing room. Hand off to White, did not get out. Safety. Nicholas Morrow got through. And the safety for this Philly defense. Well, Nicholas Morrow, he just hits it, and he gets right in there. You see the job that he does. There's just nobody able to pick him up. He makes a play, but it's not just Morrow. It's that defensive front that's also getting the push.
They were so good yesterday. They were just so good from start to finish in that game, and that's why they couldn't run the football at all. I know Todd Bowles talked about that yesterday, saying they had absolutely zero rushing attack, and that's because this Eagles front can eat, and they did that there, which is really cool.
Yeah, that Eagles front was warning them, too. The greatest trash talker maybe in this city's history. I don't want to put too much into him, but he's a pretty great trash talker. Brandon Graham told them, don't run it here. Why would you run it here? And, well, that's what you get for running it.
I already said it on to one of the guys over there. I said, man, y'all don't even want to be on this one right here. And I hope y'all ain't running. And I'm just talking, having my fun. But, boy, they I didn't even see the play. I just know I was blocking. My guy was on me, and I just seen the whole line, everybody on their back. So I was like, all right, I told y'all boys, but I know that we got something special we building.
I love that, and he is a great trash talker. But I love that. It's just such. I love that he said, you don't want to run here. You don't want to run here. And they made him eat their words, which was just amazing that they decided to try to run the football against that front. Just such a bad idea. And the Eagles defense, they were just spectacular yesterday. That's The Vault, presented by Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. Great job, Ray. I know you're excited for your Wednesday edition of The Vault, where you get to be a little more creative in terms of this day in history and everything. But I love reliving the Eagles game the next day.
Yeah, so, especially with the win. I mean,
that was a fun game yesterday. And again, they're only going to get better. 610-632-0975, the number to climb in. We're reacting to the Eagles win yesterday. It was better, right? Yesterday was a better day. So we'll talk about that. But I also want to get into a conversation about forcing things. And we'll probably talk about Kenneth Gainwell a little bit. I'll explain more coming up next right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Eagles move to 3-0. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by PXG Parsons Extreme Golf. Keep your golf game going in style all season long with PXG's latest fall arrivals. PXG continues to push the boundary of golf apparel innovation. Shop now at your local PXG store. Today, Eagles beat the Buccaneers 25-11 on Monday Night Football. It was another big night for DeAndre Swift, 130 yards on the ground. A.J. Brown also finally getting involved in a big way, 9 receptions for 131 yards. Eagles defense stepped up one more time. Reed Blankenship had an interception. You just heard in the vault the safety from Nicholas Morrow as Buccaneers took over on the 1-yard line, tried to run the football, and ran right back into their own end zone. Only 4 yards allowed per play by this defense in the game against the the Buccaneers. Hurts threw for a touchdown, ran for another, did have a pair of interceptions in the win. Eagles 3-0 for the second consecutive season. The Phillies can clinch a playoff spot tonight, and they can clinch the top wild card spot with a win as they open up a series against the Pirates at Citizens Bank Park. 3 against the Pirates, 3 against the Mets, and that's all that's left in the regular season. Aaron Nola gets the ball tonight for the Phils. Keep it locked right here for all the latest news and information. I'm Ray Dunn for 97.5 The Fanatic.
It's a great time to be a sports fan in Philadelphia.
This game is over!
The NFL season is underway. The Phillies are pushing toward a playoff appearance. And right around the corner, the return of the Flyers in the NHL and the Sixers in the NBA. If you want great local sports conversation, this is the place to be all day, every day. All things Phillies sports is here. This is 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
We're back with another week of football, and DraftKings Sportsbook is keeping us in on the NFL action with great offers every single game day. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Throw $5 on any of this week's epic matchups to walk away an instant winner. And DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game day this September. Football's more fun when you're in on the action. So download the app now and sign up with the code FANATIC. New customers can bet just $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL with the code FANATIC. The crown is yours. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with things I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of the disease called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, straight lines seem wavy, like when looking at a door frame. For others, blurry or missing spots can make it hard to read or see loved ones' faces. Many have trouble seeing in low light, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you've been diagnosed with AMD and notice vision changes, don't wait. Talk to your eye doctor about GA today. Learn more at GAWon'tWait.com. That's GAWon'tWait.com.
Boom, 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 boom. Nissan has a car for every driver who wants more. More action. More fun. More guts. More head turns. More adventure. More electric. At Nissan, more is all we do.
Now at Staples, the prices of HP printers are dropping. Save on HP Smart Tank and enjoy even more savings on ink. Save on the HP Inkjet, perfect for high-quality pics. Save on HP laser printers, great for tackling high-volume document printing. Now through September 30th, save on Staples' entire selection of HP printers, some as low as $69.99. With HP printer price drops at Staples, now is the time to upgrade to HP, America's most trusted printer brand. See staples.com/HP for details.
Nothing slows my little girl down, except a stuffy nose.
Mommy.
That's why I use Sinex Children's Saline from Vicks. Sinex instantly clears mucus in everyday stuffy little noses with a gentle, ultrafine mist designed for kids. Just Sinex? Breathe. Her stuffy nose is gone for now. And so is she.
Sinex Children's Saline. Sinex, breathe. Use as directed, keep out of reach of children.
O'Reilly. Protect your engine against sludge and wear with a synthetic oil change. O'Reilly Auto Parts has 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil for $35.95. Plus, get a $5 O reward to use on a future purchase. Our professional parts people can also recommend all the supplies you need for your next oil change. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Did you know gas goes bad in as little as 30 days? Bad gas can cause rough starts, poor performance, or no starts at all. Stable, America's #1 fuel stabilizer, ensures quick and easy starts after storage. Stable's proprietary formula keeps fuel fresh for 2 years, outperforming competitors. Whether it's your car, truck, boat, lawnmower, leaf blower, weed trimmer, ATV, motorcycle, or anything else with an engine, when you store, start with Stable.
Do you have heart failure and often hear,
"Those stomach issues ruined your birthday"?
"You're too tired to play catch, Grandpa."
Sweetie, you haven't touched your tools since the carpal tunnel syndrome diagnosis.
If these seemingly unrelated symptoms sound familiar, talk to your cardiologist. Ask about transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy, or ATTR-CM, a rare and underdiagnosed disease that gets worse over time. Learn more at connecttoyourheart.com. That's connecttoyourheart.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Hello? Whether you're at home or on the go, listen to 97.5 The Fanatic on Odyssey on your smartphone, Roku, LG Smart TV, Waze, and more. That's Odyssey, AUDACY. Check it out now.
Guys, how would you like to lose weight, have more energy, and be up for more action in the bedroom? Hi, this is Dr. Avi Donapel from Iron Mountain Men's Health. You've heard about our safe, effective, and affordable treatments for ED and low T. Now our physicians can also prescribe Ozempic, which could help you lose up to 15% of your body weight. Learn more about this winning game plan when you book your free consultation at ironmountainmenshealth.com. Iron Mountain Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health.
You have a job to do. You need power to do it. And depending on the time of year, heating or cooling. At United Rentals Power and HVAC, we have a job to do too. That's to make your job easier with 24/7 equipment rental, including generators, air conditioners, heaters, transformers, and load banks, plus certified engineered solutions. Get the right tool right now at United Rentals Power and HVAC. Exit 17 off 295 in South Jersey. Call 856-423-7820 or visit UnitedRentals.com.
Jason Stark plays on one station in Philly, 97.5 The Fanatic.
It's 11:20, 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Andrew Salchunas, 11 o'clock hour, brought to us by Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged, reacting to the Eagles' win over the Bucs last night. A lot of good things, right? There are still some things that need to be improved, but I would say a lot of good things so far. As you saw the jump from weeks 1 to 2 to 3, because you saw slight improvements every single week. And yesterday, the defensive front was just incredible. The secondary much better. A.J. Brown had the big game, even though he still dropped 2 touchdown passes. But he had a big game yesterday. DeAndre Swift was amazing. And I want to talk about DeAndre Swift coming up in a second. But first, my man Todd's been waiting for a little bit, so I want to get to Todd and Langhorne first. And then we're going to talk about forcing things. Todd, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Chris, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, man.
So I've called in a couple times, got to talk to you and Anthony, and talked about being a Bucs fan when they drafted Allstott in '96.
Yeah.
So let me give you two quick things. The first one, Jalen Carter is a absolute freak.
I can't believe he fell to 9. I mean, obviously I can because of everything that went on, right? Like there's a lot of stuff there, but the fact that he fell to 9, and as Ray said earlier, you replaced Javon Hargrave with him, it's incredible.
The kid is just an absolute menace. He's going to be he will be a Pro Bowl player, a Hall of Famer. He's a stud. He's an absolute stud. Kudos to your defense because you made my team just look silly last night. I was watching the game with a bunch of Eagle fans, and at one point I heard, "The Bucs, is this a JV team, Todd?" And I was just like, all right. Hey, I want to give you a quick story. Shout out to the Eagles. Also, I thought it was going to be Jalen Hurts' breakout game. I said that they would win by 14. They did, but I thought it was going to be a 38-24 ball game. When they lined up on the 1-yard line, I looked at my buddy. I said, "This sucks because this is going to be a safety." They got the safety.
Oh, the other. I thought you meant the Eagles push on the 1-yard line, but yeah, the other way too.
The push is a solid play. Don't get rid of it. I love it. But yeah, I called the safety as well. I mean, I really thought Jalen Hurts was going to break out. He's got some cobwebs to shake off, but you guys will be fine with him. He's your franchise quarterback. Yeah, so let me tell you about my first time going down to the Raymond James Stadium. It was 2011. They were playing the Cowboys. It was a Saturday night game. It was my first time ever going down there. My wife got me tickets. So we get down. We wound up spending a week in Clearwater, which I know you're there now. Clearwater's fantastic.
Awesome. Beautiful.
we get there. We're at about row 30 on the 40-yard line, and she's like, no, keep going down. Now we get to row 20. She's like, keep going down. I didn't know where the tickets were. I'm at the 40-yard line. I'm like a kid in the candy store now. Imagine walking down to first row, 40-yard line.
That's awesome.
I was in awe. I think the final score was 42-17 Dallas at halftime. The same thing that happened last night. There were more Dallas fans. And I think watching the game last night, I was in awe. I know you guys said maybe 60-40. It did look like a 50-50 split, but by the second half, it was like 80-20. I was in awe that teams go there and they take over the stadium.
Well, it's such a destination, too, right? Like, it's Florida, which is really cool. I mean, like, obviously, the Eagles have a lot of great road games this year, and we always look at all right, what's the schedule? What's the game I would like to go to? And I know it's only September, right? So it's not February or, it's not the football season. It's not November or December. You're trying to avoid the cold, but it's such a fun town down here. It's a destination, and people want to come down here. Like, not many people travel to, I don't want to be disrespectful, but, like, Indianapolis. Right,
yeah,
right,
sure.
but like coming down to Tampa, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, but again, big shout out to your defensive line. Made us look awful, absolute awful. Baker looked a mess, but again, I was blown away with Jalen Carter last night. It was the first time I actually, sat and watched him. Obviously, he's playing the team that I like, but man amongst boys, and he is a boy. He's still a kid. He's going to be playing for the next, 12 years. I was really, really, really blown away. And I kept saying it to the guys I was watching the game with. This is scary because you guys aren't even clicking yet. And the way the defense looked, and if the offense gets clicking, listen, again, I'm a Bucs fan, but, I mean, real recognize real.
They're going to be a force to reckon with. And thanks for the call, Todd. I appreciate it. That's a good Bucs fan right there, right? Like, he
respectable.
Respect. Yeah, and he also, like, gave the Eagles their flowers, and he wasn't delusional like some of the fans around me yesterday. But that's going to happen no matter what city you travel to. But, yeah, I mean, look, that's a big part of it, right? The fact that it's Clearwater / Tampa, you're going to come down here and enjoy everything around. You're going to enjoy the beach, and then you go to a football game. And I'm sure that's got to be tough. And not that Philadelphia isn't a great city to hang out at, but we also don't allow those tickets to be sold all that much. Whereas I'm sure there are a lot of Buccaneers fans, or maybe I'll just say a lot of people that live in the area that have season tickets trying to flip it for a profit.
Yeah. I mean, people are coming down there for the long weekend, get a little vacation. Oh, I'll go watch my football team too. You can make some money off of that one.
Yeah, so that's part of the reason why. But yeah, once halftime hit, it was all Eagles fans. That's the keyest touchdown that you played during the vault. I mean, that's basically how it sounded all game long. That loud. That's how loud it was, and it was the whole game, and it never ended. Right? Like, let's be honest. I'm sure was it boring at home at times watching the game?
A little bit.
Yeah, like the
little monotonous.
Dragged on in the fourth quarter, right? Dragged on a little bit, but the energy of the Eagles fans leaving Raymond James Stadium yesterday was as if it was still the first quarter, man. The amount of Eagles chants. I will say this. So we did the bus trip back from the stadium to the hotel that we're staying at, and I think everybody was kind of tired at that point. I mean, it was all EAGLES, first off all weekend, but also all day. Somebody started the chant right when we pulled into the hotel, and you got the E, and then it was like, hey, gee, like everybody was kind of done toward the end of the day. We showed a lot of energy during the game and even leaving the stadium, but at the end, I think everybody was on the same page, ready to just go to bed. 610-632-0975. That's the number to climb in. I want to talk about this about forcing things, Ray. So it's funny. A.J. Brown has the tirade on the sideline in week 2. And then we saw A.J. Brown get 3 straight targets. Dallas Goedert barely got the ball in week 1, and then he got 6 receptions in week 2, but only for 26 yards. I think the term trying to, force the ball to someone, it could go one or two ways. Like, I think week 2, they forced the ball to Dallas Goedert. He was not having a good day, right? He had 6 catches for 26 yards. It's not like that's some incredible game that you're fired up and about to buy a Dallas Goedert jersey because of it. But you also know that Dallas Goedert's talented, and so you want to try to get him the ball. So there's like this weird notion of forcing the ball, whether or not that's a good thing or not. And so the conversation going into week 3 was A.J. Brown going to have the ball forced to him? So take a listen to this. This was Nick Sirianni yesterday after the game talking about A.J. Brown getting involved.
You know, we always are trying to get AJ involved. I mean, we're trying to get all those guys going. It's not, I know sometimes it might appear that way, and but we're taking what they give us. We're we have an idea what they're going to do going into it. But then, we're going to, take what they give us in certain situations. They were giving us some one-on-ones on the outside to AJ, so we took that. And so, it was a check by Jalen and Brian. I thought Brian did a good job on the second play of the game, getting to the check that sprung AJ. That ball wasn't going to AJ, and then, it went to him because we checked out of it. We're always going to want to get AJ involved. It just so happened that he had the first couple catches of the game, 44 yards, I think it was, on the first drive, and he kept rolling from there.
I don't think you could say that the ball was forced to AJ. Maybe he was in the game plan a little bit more because of the previous week, but he had 9 catches for 131 yards. Right, so that means the defense allowed A.J. Brown to have that kind of a game. So I don't want to say the ball was forced to A.J. Brown, but I do think the ball was forced a little bit to not DeAndre Swift, Ray, but Kenneth Gainwell. So I had a theory, and I brought it up to you yesterday, that we would see a decent handful size of Kenneth Gainwell yesterday because week 1, he was the lead back. DeAndre Swift barely got anything. We know he had 1 carry and 1 touch. And then, unfortunately for Gainwell, he dealt with the rib injury and missed the second week because it was the short week. It was the Thursday night game. And we saw DeAndre Swift go off. Right, the guy rushed for 175 yards. So I had a theory going into last night that they may actually force feed Kenneth Gainwell to try to say, hey, look, don't worry about it. Like, you're still our guy. Did you get that sense? Because he was not effective yesterday, and he still had 14 carries, and DeAndre Swift only had 16. And I get having like a two-headed backfield. Like you need that kind of stuff. But when it's not working to the tune of 3 yards per carry, it did feel a little forced at times yesterday with Gainwell.
Yeah, it felt a little forced with him at times. I got to say, when Swift's going that well, if you end up trying to give that many to Gainwell, I'm not sitting there loving it. I do think some of what he got, like when you end up looking at the total, kind of at the end, guy we trust, we're trying to run the clock out here. Let's give him a little bit more so we keep we don't overuse Swift, and we also, honestly, like, this is galaxy braining it in my mind, but it's a guy that is going to kind of get you to fall forward 3-4, and you're just moving down the field slower. Not that they, I think, anticipated the 9 minutes coming off the clock, but I don't think they hated it either. So I think some of that is what played into that, but it was a little much from Gainwell. And I keep going back to that 4th and 2. Like, come on. Like, we know we talk about the hot hand, and I understand people will tell you that, like, between week to week, you can't, especially 10 days between games. No, Swift is not running based on what you saw on Thursday night, but you've seen who's worked best in this offense. You've seen what you've been able to get from him.
I don't want Swift averaging 25 yards per game or 25 carries per game.
Right.
Because you're going to burn the guy out. So I don't want to do that. But at the same time, you're trying to win a football game. And I get that yesterday they were up 25-11, so and the Bucs offense was doing nothing. So you never really felt worried at any point. But at the same time, I'm watching Kenneth Gainwell, and this is why I go back to week 1. I didn't understand that going into it. Like, I did not understand why it was going to be the Kenneth Gainwell show. And I like Gainwell, okay? I think he's a nice back to have in a rotation. I think he's a great pass blocker. He can still do some things out of the backfield, catching the ball. He's more of your tougher back if in a 3rd and short. But you also see how well DeAndre Swift runs on 3rd and short and 2nd and short and 4th and short. Same with Jalen Hurts. It just felt like at times it was like, all right, let's try to get Kenneth Gainwell the ball. And I don't think that was necessary at times. And I go back to week 1 going, wait a minute, what are we doing here? Because remember, all throughout training camp, it was DeAndre Swift. Man, this is a different back. We haven't seen this kind of guy in a while. And, yeah, they loved Gainwell. But the fact that DeAndre Swift wasn't even part of the game plan week 1 kind of confused me.
Yeah, like, and it's even more confusing looking back. Like, I really didn't get in the moment, and I understand he's the 2nd leading rusher in the NFL. Like, how do you not get him more involved? How do you not find the space for it? And I understand you like the guy. You can like Gainwell all you want, but you have DeAndre Swift. And, like, it's one thing, I guess, if they'd be throwing Penny out there to throw Penny out there, and we'd be more frustrated with it because quite clearly they don't love him. Like, they love Gainwell. He's given them reason to be out there, but he hasn't given you reason to be out there as much as Swift is. And the only justification I can possibly see is trying to protect Swift from, like you said, the 25 carries a game.
Now, speaking of Swift, Nick Sirianni spoke about Swift after the game yesterday. Here's what he had to say.
Super elusive. Shoot, we know how good he can be catching the football too. It's just the way the flow of the game's been, where we haven't needed that yet. But he's a weapon to catch the football as well and make plays. We got a little screen to him today. I thought was a good play and a good play by our offensive line. But he's elusive. He's explosive. He's tough. Shoot, he's really had a nice start to this season.
Yeah, and that was just such an incredible pickup. You got to give Howie Roseman a lot of credit. And it was something that on draft day, when they draft Jahmyr Gibbs, the Lions do, everybody's kind of like, wait a minute, hold on a second. There's no way they're going to keep Swift and Gibbs, especially with what Gibbs does, right, his skill set. So that was out there. And I remember seeing somebody tweet out, like, should the Eagles be in play with DeAndre Swift? And I said, absolutely, because that's what makes sense. That's kind of what the Eagles do. The Eagles don't pay backs a lot of money. You saw that with Miles Sanders. And so you bring in a guy with 1 year left on his deal, and we'll see. He might get a decent payday coming during the offseason. I know running backs aren't getting paid the same, but you know that the Eagles' MO is not really to pay running backs all that much. But it was a great pickup for at least one more year. All you gave up was a 4th-round pick to get him. So you got to give Howie Roseman a lot of credit. And I like that Sirianni is now starting to realize just how talented this guy can be. Obviously, he knew that. Like, I don't think Nick Sirianni didn't realize how talented Swift was. But you've seen it now through the last 2 weeks where you go, all right, this guy can be dangerous in every asset of the game, which is fantastic. And then Jalen Hurts talked about Swift as well yesterday, and here's what he had to say.
He's been a big time player for us, and see him jumping over guys. I don't know if I've seen that in a long time, but he's he's kind of marking his territory. I feel like with that, and he's pushing everybody else around him. So we just need him to keep playing great ball.
He's been fantastic. And that's only going to make Jalen Hurts' job easier, which is great, right? So for everybody that has said Jalen Hurts hasn't looked all that great, and I'm one of them, right? He has not looked all that great. If Swift in that ground game is as dominant as it is, that's just going to open up opportunities for Jalen Hurts. Because you saw 2 weeks ago against the Vikings, they attacked Hurts, right? That was the game plan by Minnesota, was to create pressure, wreak havoc at the offensive line, and force Hurts to his right, and that's what Bill Belichick did. And then they start going with the ground game. And DeAndre Swift ends up running for 175 yards. And so now, going into this week's game, Todd Bowles goes, all right, well, I saw how they were able to slow down Jalen Hurts the last 2 weeks with Bill Belichick and Brian Flores. So I'm going to try to do a similar idea and force pressure and make Jalen Hurts feel uncomfortable. And then once again, the ground game worked again. So what's going to happen now, and this is the beauty of this team, and this is why this team is so dominant. At some point, they're going to try to take away DeAndre Swift now. Defenses on the opposing side, they're going to start trying to take away DeAndre Swift and not let him do the stuff that he's been doing the last 2 weeks. And then that's just going to open up things for Jalen Hurts to do more with his arm. It'll open up things with A.J. Brown. It'll open up things for Devontae Smith. It's going to make Dallas Goedert an even better player because Dallas Goedert's had a quiet season so far to start. But you just saw yesterday. A.J. Brown, they have to start going one-on-one because they wanted to load up some more guys in the box. And you had one-on-one opportunities, and he goes for 130 yards. And you know why that? They want to load up the box a little bit more, but they're also focusing more on Devontae Smith because Devontae Smith has had the first 2 games. Like, this team is so dominant that it does not matter what you try to do. You only have 11 guys out there, both sides of the ball. You only have 11 guys. So you're going to do whatever you can to try to get any sort of advantage on who you think you want to take out from a game. And when you're an opposing defense, who do you want to take out? Like, right, I'll ask you, right? You're a defensive coordinator, right? You're calling the shots.
Oh, boy.
You're going, all right, man, I don't want to let this guy beat me. Who is it?
Probably up all night with this. I guess A.J. Brown, but I go
and then you have
Hurts
Devontae
first.
Smith.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have Devontae. And that's the thing. Like, it's pretty, it's hypothetical question.
Right.
But
that's
you know what I mean?
the problem. Like, I'm sitting
you
here.
take away A.J. Brown, and then it's like, all right, well, idiot. You're going to leave Devontae Smith open.
Great work
You're
on
going
my
to leave DeAndre
part.
Swift open. You're going to leave Dallas Goedert open. You're going to let Jalen Hurts do more with his legs. That's the dominance of this team, that it doesn't matter who you try to take away. You can double up A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith's one-on-one. You can do the opposite. Now it's A.J. Brown one-on-one. You see his best game of the season yesterday. Unless you're going up against a team with 2 solid corners and a defensive pass rush that can get home. I mean, let's face it. Unless it's the San Francisco 49ers. So that's kind of what it is. They have a good secondary. They have a good pass rush. And then they could probably go one-on-one throughout the field. A lot of matchup stuff, 11 on 11. But for the most part, if you're like a Buccaneers team, you got a good safety in Antoine Winfield. You got some players out there. But nothing where you're going to take away from the Eagles, one aspect of the game, or maybe you do take away one aspect of the game and then something else happens. So Jalen Hurts, even though it's been 3 not so great weeks from Jalen Hurts, I think the 3 weeks, Bill Belichick and Brian Flores and now Todd Bowles, I think their game plan going into it was, all right, how can we make Jalen Hurts struggle a little bit? Or what can we do to make sure that he doesn't have the MVP type performance that we saw every single week last year? And so they're going to scheme up defenses for that. And then it's just opened things up for DeAndre Swift. And that's been the last 2 weeks. So I'll say this, right? I'm expecting in the next week or two, because I thought last night would be the breakout game for Jalen Hurts. Maybe I was looking at it too soon. With what DeAndre Swift has done the last 2 weeks, if you're an opposing defense, if you're the Commanders, now the Commanders stink, so what does it really matter? But I'm going to guess that the Commanders try to stop the run a little bit more now next week. And so maybe Jalen Hurts has his best game of the season. Do you think that's a good prediction, Ray?
I think that's a great prediction. And it's the great circle of what this is. And it's over seasons, too. Like 2021, you think about, they're winning because they're running the football. Well, you come out 2022, well, this team, we know they can run the football. We don't know if Hurts can beat us. All of a sudden, Hurts starts beating you, and teams really couldn't adjust until it was too late for them. Then you get all the way to this season. It's like, okay, well, now we know what Hurts can be. We got to stop Hurts. And it's like, oh, wait, that running game is still just as potent. And it's just a circle for you. And you just keep running around like the hamster on the wheel trying to get somewhere. And fortunately, you're just staying right in place. As soon as you fix one problem, it's right there in front of you again.
And that's why this team, that's why I go, all right, 3-0. Yeah, it hasn't been necessarily pretty, but they're 3-0, and it's going to still be nightmares for opposing defensive coordinators and head coaches to try to scheme up against this defense. And, people on Good Morning Football could say, oh, the Niners have been dominant through their 3 wins, and the Eagles have just gotten by the first 3 wins. Win's a win, and they've gotten better the last couple of weeks. So I'm looking forward to seeing the Eagles get even better as the season progresses. We had the Buccaneers fan, Todd, earlier call in, and he straight up said, he's like, this team isn't even clicking. And I watched them not even let the Bucs have a game. One of his buddies called the Bucs a JV team compared to the Eagles last night. That's got to be scary for a lot of defenses. So look out. Go ahead. Disrespect the Eagles. I love it. Please disrespect the Eagles. 610-632-0975. That's the number to climb in. So I want to react to last night's win. The Eagles 3-0 in the season. The majority good. There's a couple of things that you're still going to go, all right, this could be worked on. But the majority has been good for the Eagles yesterday. And the great was the defense. So coming up next, I want to show a little bit more love to the defense because let's face it, that's our roots. When it comes to Philadelphia, it's great seeing Jalen Hurts, and it's great seeing A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and DeAndre Swift. Like, I love that. And I'm sure it's exciting. But our roots is defense. And it's great to start seeing a dominant defense for another year in Philadelphia. They might not have the 70 sacks like they did last year, but you're starting to see some beautiful signs, especially from some of these young players. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the defense next. Also, your next chance to win $1,000 comes at 12 o'clock with our Kelly Green cash giveaway. 610-632-0975 to call in to react to last night's win and the good, and not even the bad, but just the good and the stuff that you want to see improve you a little bit more because it hasn't been perfect. But they're 3-0. I'm Andrew Salchunas. This is 97.5 The Fanatic. Let me tell you about 50% off, right? You hear 50% off, you're all ears, right? Well, what about 50% off when it comes to something extremely important? And that's having a good roof above your head. And New Look Home Design is going to offer you 50% off all materials. So that means 50% off roofing. That also means 50% off siding. And they're also going to give you 0% interest-free financing for 5 years, which is an incredible deal. And you're also going to have dinner on them. If you schedule a free consultation, you'll get a $100 restaurant.com gift card just for inviting them into your home. Any completed estimate will receive a gift card, whether they purchase them or not. Now, look, let's face it. You're probably going to want to go with them because they do everything right. They give you all the great deals, and they are an incredible company. New Look Home Design is a GAF Master Elite contractor. That means that status is only offered to less than 2% of roofing contractors in North face back in studio tomorrow. I missed you. Don't worry.
Oh, that's nice of you to say.
I will say, we've been very Eagles heavy. Obviously, I had a lot of fun, and I think I'm done with having fun for a little bit.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I need to take a little break from fun. Yes, the tailgate was great. The Vince from Philly Sports Strips, just if you're looking to do a tailgate, whether it's at home, because he does tailgates live at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. So Bob, Pat, and I will be doing home game pre-games at Live Casino this year, and it's in partnership also with Philly Sports Strips. Of course, the FanDuel pregame show, but we partner with Vince, and we do it from his tailgate, and it's just incredible. So great tailgate at home, but also these road game tailgates are just tremendous. A couple of buddies of mine actually were here. One lives down here. One's brothers live down here, so he flew down, met up with his brother, and they were like, dude, he does this every time, every road game? How does he get this set up? I'm like, I don't know. The guy's just really good. He's got a craft at it. It's incredible. So definitely check them out if you're ever looking to do a road game or even just a home game, because he does the tailgate at Live Casino. So we're going to get into the defense in a little bit, but I'm reading an article from Tim McManus. He did his game write-up on ESPN.com talking about the Eagles and the Bucs. And two things I want to bring up to you, Ray. The promising trend he has in here. Eagles entered as the number 2 rushing offense in the NFL, 178 yards per game, and they once again dominated on the ground. Swift followed up a career-best performance against the Vikings in Week 2, 175 rushing yards, with another monster performance, racking up 130 yards on 16 carries. He has officially emerged as Philadelphia's lead back after 2 touches in the season opener. I just keep on going back to it. It is crazy that he only had 2 touches in the first week, and look at what he's done so far the last 2 weeks. But it's just awesome. It goes back to what we were talking about last segment. The Eagles are all of a sudden the number 2 rushing offense, which is what we saw 2 years ago when they made that run to the playoffs, even though they played some COVID-riddled teams and quarterbacks that were banged up that beat the teams in front of them, and they focused heavily on the run game. And now that Jalen Hurts is becoming an even better thrower in the NFL, and I know he hasn't looked necessarily perfect through 3 games this year, it goes back to what we were talking about. Defenses or teams are going to scheme against the run now, and hopefully that makes things better for Jalen Hurts. And, oh, by the way, speaking of Hurts, Ray, Hurts, this was the eye-popping stat that McManus has in the article. Hurts now has the most rushing touchdowns in a quarterback's first 50 career games with 29. He surpassed Cam Newton, who had 28, and Hurts still hasn't played 50 games. Yesterday was his 48th game. How crazy is that?
Oh, that's nuts. That's awesome.
I know it's tush pushes and, not all the time. It's in breaking 20, 30-yard runs like we've seen, like that Minnesota game last year. That was the incredible run in Week 2 on Monday night. But still, I mean, it just shows that this guy is ready to do anything for the team to try to win, and seeing that dominance, right? Like, people like to point out, it was the weirdest thing, the talking heads during the offseason. Oh, look, he barely threw any touchdowns last year. All right, well, if you add he had 13 rushing touchdowns last year? You add that to his passing total, all of a sudden the guy's right around 35, which is what you see out of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't know why I don't understand why people try to take that away from Hurts. It makes no sense to me.
No, it makes no sense at all. Why would you take a strength and say, well, because he has that strength, but he's not as strong in something else, or doesn't have the numbers really to show you that he's that strong in something else? Oh, why? That's a bad thing now all of a sudden? No, he's scoring these touchdowns. They're putting up points. The quarterback's job is to get you from point A all the way down to the end zone. He gets you into the end zone. And also when you go with this tush-push conversation, he is the driving force of this. How strong he is to get himself
600
in
pounds,
there.
man.
Yeah, exactly.
Squat 600 pounds, Ray.
Give me a break with the whole, it's not enough passing touchdowns. Those of us that may have financially invested in the passing touchdown over might have a consideration so far through 3 weeks.
A.J. Brown kind of
he's not
screwed me over yesterday. Things were looking good, and then he dropped 2 touchdown passes. But I'm not,
No.
That's the risk of betting. But
correct.
Hold on.
Do it responsibly.
Hold on to it, please, AJ.
Please.
I would appreciate. You're very talented. He had 9 catches for 131 yards. You couldn't have dropped one in the middle of the field, and then responded with catching a touchdown pass. We
would like it. I'm just gonna say it. If you could if one of these that he has near the end zone, he could either catch it or it could count. I would like that. I don't want to get too bold. I'll write this one out right here.
Warning, this is a hot take alert.
I'd love AJ to score a touchdown.
Yeah, I would appreciate him to score some touchdowns, but that's all right. All right, so I want to focus on the defense a little bit. I have another great stat for Jalen Carter. But first, speaking of Jalen Carter, I know Rich and Brick wants to talk to him. So let's go to Rich. You're on the Fanatic.
Hey, what's up, guys? I thought our defenses looked really, really awesome last night. I just don't know how the NFL teams let Jalen Carter fall to us at number 9. I felt like he should have been number 1 if he didn't get in trouble.
Well, yeah, and that's why, right? He was he was considered the best player coming into this draft, and we know that quarterbacks is a big part of it too. So that's gonna take a couple spots off the board early on. But yeah, man, I mean, if that extremely unfortunate event didn't happen, he's probably a top 2 pick in this past draft, and he falls to 9. The Eagles scoop him up
easily, and I like it. In fact, that we have Carter, Davis. They're young, and we got a couple of years to go with them, which is really awesome because a little unheard of, especially all the money that we spent on our quarterback this year, which he deserved it. Which is great for us.
Yeah, I mean, look, they have to continue to, and this is what happens with any NFL team, right? You pay the quarterback the big money, you got to start hitting in the draft, and it looks like they're doing that, and it looks like Howie's not really overthinking it anymore. We saw that a few years ago. Now it's, hey, wait, we can draft players from the best teams in college and not overthink this, and they're going to fit on our team. Let's do that.
I have one more question to ask you. I had a trade offer in fantasy football.
Okay.
The guy wants Walker for Higgins and James Conner. Is that a good trade? No. Okay.
No, don't do that. Thanks for the call, Rich. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
No. Kenneth Walker, I feel like Rich's friend is trying to rip him off.
Yeah.
No, don't do that. I mean, Kenneth Walker is part of the reason why I won. I had a 3-0 weekend, right?
Oh, congratulations. Let me tally up the 9 teams and see how I did.
I'm not gonna be bragging. You're in 9 fantasy leagues?
Yeah, I can't say no to people. You know this better than anyone.
That is absurd. Oh my God.
It's tough. Anyways, it's a tough life I lead.
Cash contest coming your way in a few minutes, but another incredible Jalen Carter stat. This from Jeff Kerr, who covers the Eagles for CBS. Jalen Carter and T.J. Watt are the only players with 15 pressures and 2 forced fumbles this season. Now, I know that you can make numbers dance and try to make somebody look better. There's the greatest example ever was that Thaddeus Young thing that the
best stat in the world
a few years ago.
Best stat ever.
Where Thad Young was in the same conversation as Jordan and Magic Johnson and LeBron and Larry Bird. Like that's you could do things to make numbers look better for a player. But no, this guy's actually making an impact. And I think one of the beautiful things is, and Rich brought up Jordan Davis, he's making Jordan Davis better. And because you have to pay so much attention to Jalen Carter, who's getting double teamed so many times. I gave you the stat from Ed Werder about the amount of pressures he has created during double teams. I mean, that's just showing you how good he is, but he's getting doubled up. So that means Jordan Davis, who is a big man, is getting a lot of one-on-one battles. And look what that's doing for him. He's been incredible.
They're creating chaos, and it's so great to watch. Just knowing the concern that people had coming in, like again, Hargrave gets $20 million for a reason. Like the chaos that you can create and start to build on that front line is something else. And I think it's given new legs, honestly, to what Fletcher Cox has been able to do this season too.
Oh, absolutely. Remember last year, he was playing like 70, 80% of the snaps. And then they brought in Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh, and you saw a different Fletcher Cox in the second half of the season. And this year, that Patriots game where he made the big play, forced the turnover. So earlier in week 1, Fletcher Cox, all of a sudden, he's not playing as many snaps. He comes out, makes the big play, and we might see that a couple more times this year. He is still very talented. He doesn't forget how to play the game of football. He's just losing a step a little bit. But if he doesn't have to play as many snaps and he can be a part of that rotation with those 2 young guys, that's going to go a long way for Fletcher Cox and the Eagles defense. I want to play some audio from Sirianni and Brandon Graham coming up, but it is time now for your next chance to win $1,000.
Win $1,000 right now. 97.5 The Fanatic's Kelly Green Cash.
Your chance to win $1,000 with 97.5 The Fanatic's Kelly Green Cash contest, and also a brand new 2023 Birds Kelly Green jersey. Text the word GIVE to 45911. That's GIVE, G-I-V-E, to 45911, or you can enter it on the Fanatic app or at 975thefanatic.com. One winner selected at random will win $1,000 in this company-wide contest. Winners will get a call from Beasley, so be sure to answer your phone. Complete rules at 975thefanatic.com. 97.5 The Fanatic's Kelly Green Cash is presented by Rand Spear, the accident lawyer. Demand Rand. Call 1-800-90-LEGAL. Please never text and drive. Good luck. Now, Ray, I will say this before we get to this audio about the defense. There are two people that I want to win the $1,000 and the Kelly Green jersey.
Appreciate your support. I'm not allowed to win, though.
No, it's not you.
Oh.
Did you see the photo of the two Eagles fans that I tweeted last night from Raymond James Stadium?
No, I did not.
So there was Kelly Green everywhere, right? Which is great. Like I know, me and Ann always joke around about it. Like Kelly Green, I don't have that same sentimentality that a lot of people have that are older than us because we weren't around for it. So like the blackout jerseys are awesome for me, and the midnight green and the white jerseys are really cool. But like I know the Kelly Green jerseys are great. And when you're wearing Kelly Green at Raymond James Stadium yesterday, where there's a lot of red jerseys, it really pops, right? Like you could spot out the Eagles fans yesterday throughout the stadium. And there was a lot of Jalen Hurts jerseys. I saw a lot of Darius Slay jerseys, a ton. Like I think besides Hurts, Darius Slay may have been the most worn jersey my time down here in Florida.
Really?
Which is kind of surprising. Like
cool though. I mean, it's a good look. The two with Slay, like he really pulls off the single digit. Like it just looks good. It's a good looking jersey.
It's just I love Darius Slay. Like I've argued with people about Darius Slay because I think there are people that read Pro Football Focus and think that he didn't have a good year last year, which I think was ridiculous. And there were some beat reporters that ran with that last year too, which I didn't like. He had a good season, and he's been tremendous so far this year as well. I just didn't think Slay was a jersey, like a guy that you want to buy a jersey for. Now, I know there's people that have like 18 Eagles jerseys. I haven't bought one in a while. But I don't know. Like, is Slay a guy that apparently?
I mean, it's a slick jersey. He's a playmaker, which is a big thing.
That's true.
Pick 6 probably won him a couple jerseys. I think people probably went after week 1. Oh, that's a good one for me to get. Him coming back also, I think people
back helped.
Yeah, like, oh, new contract, that's secure for me to go buy. This is a fun guy. He's got a little bit of a swagger to him. I could see
and there's a lot of Kelly Green jerseys too, so that means like this year.
Right. So I think that might be what it is.
Yeah, I guess so. So it was pretty cool. But anyways, aside from the Darius Slay and Jalen Hurts, there was a lot of, obviously there was a lot of old school jerseys. I was rocking the Cunningham jersey, and the guy near me had a Cunningham jersey. Saw a lot of Jason Kelsey jerseys, of course, and Reggie White jerseys. But then there were two guys that were down and to our left as I sat with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan watching the game yesterday. The one guy on the left had a Gardner Minshew Eagles jersey, and his buddy on the right, Quez Watkins. And I just need, like, why? Was that all right, Minshew mania, I'm in the hype? Or is it trying to be different, maybe? Like,
don't
Pat
try that
Egan
hard.
has a jersey of every player, right? And I respect that.
Jersey,
He's got the jersey of everyone. He was wearing the Ranger Suarez jersey down here the other day, right? Not Bryce Harper, not Castellanos, not JT Realmuto, not Zach Wheeler. He's going Ranger Suarez. I respect that. But, it's one thing to go with the third guy in the rotation. It's another thing to go backup quarterback that's not Nick Foles. It's another thing to go third-string wide receiver who was drafted in the 5th round. I found that interesting yesterday.
Like a week 18.
The Minshew and Watkins.
Week 18 pairing right there. It's like they celebrate the games that don't mean anything.
So I tweeted out such a legendary quarterback to wide receiver connection, future Hall of Famers here.
Crazy.
I'm guessing Minshew and Watkins connected at some point. Or, is that maybe it was a fantasy football loss thing, or maybe it was like, hey, let's get, 2 obscure jerseys and wear it.
I think it's trying to be
Florida.
different. I think you nailed it with the trying to be different. It's like, oh, Minshew, let me lean into the Minshew mania. It's like, oh, Quez, let me try and be different here. I don't want to be like A.J. Brown or Devontae. I mean, that's just tough. That's a tough decision for me to have to justify for someone. I got another one for you from this weekend.
Okay.
So my neighbor tweeted out a picture. He goes to Penn State. He was at the whiteout. Someone for the whiteout had a Yaxiel Rios Phillies jersey.
Why?
I don't know. I do not know, but that was their whiteout attire.
People really liked him because he was good for 3 minutes.
Right.
It's kind of like that. Who was that? He sucked. but people liked him because he drank Red Bull.
Jojo Romero. I knew you were going Jojo.
He was terrible. He was awful. Like he actually
can't
should
trade
not
him for
belong
Sosa.
He should not belong in Major League Baseball. He stinks. But because he would drink a Red Bull and crush it on his forearm before he left the bullpen to go onto the field, all of a sudden he was good. Just like that. Who's the other guy who had the big glasses and the long hair?
J.D. Hammer.
J.D. Hammer. Yeah, he sucked too. He wasn't any good. So we attach ourselves to these guys sometimes because they're different. I don't like. What's the attachment with Quez Watkins? I guess the Minshew. That's still weird. Like buy the Hurts jersey. Why? And it was like stitched. Like these were legit jerseys. Like they paid a lot of money for the backup quarterback that wasn't Nick Foles, and also a third string at best wide receiver who may have just lost his job to Zacchaeus. I don't know. I found that pretty strange. But anyways, that's some of the stuff that you see when you're out and about. All right, so I want to give some more love to the defense, and we'll play some of this audio coming up in a little bit. But one more a list of stats. So there's a Twitter account called NFL Rookie Watch, and they kind of just follow along to see who the leader is for Offensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Rookie of the Year. And I know Jalen Carter's, he might be the odds-on favorite now, but I know he climbed up. So if he's not the odds-on favorite, he's 2 or 3. Here's some more stats from Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter, in just 3 games, currently has the most pressures, which is 15 amongst any defensive tackle in the league. Not rookies, amongst any DT in the league with 15. The most hurries of any defensive tackle, and third most in the league. So 12 amongst rookies and third most in the league with 12. He's tied for the most forced fumbles with 2 amongst any defender in the league. He's got a pass rush win rate of 21.9% through just 76 pass rushing attempts. And, they say the Eagles' defensive rookie already looks like one of the best interior defenders in the NFL. Like, that's ridiculous that this guy fell to the Eagles at 9. And we keep on saying fell. Obviously, it was for bigger reasons. But it's just amazing that they were able to fit him in right away and how dominant he has been. But speaking of the defense, I know we played this earlier during the vault. Here was Nick Sirianni yesterday talking about the defense and how well they've been playing this year.
I think what we're really doing well is playing with good fundamentals. And that will, playing physical. And those will take you through no matter what level of football you are. Playing physical and playing with good fundamentals will take you through Pee Wee football. It'll take you through, middle school football, high school football, college football, professional football. I think we're doing a nice job tackling. I think they're doing a really good job. And that's fundamentals. And the coaches and the players have worked hard after each practice, the time they've put into those fundamentals.
And then the other thing I want to play one more time from Brandon Graham. And it's funny. Like, Jason Kelce and Brandon Graham should be in the same sentence, but obviously Jason Kelce, because he's more at the forefront of the media, right? He's got the great podcast, and he had the documentary that came out on him not too long ago. Like, Brandon Graham deserves so much love. And you said it earlier, he may be one of the best trash talkers that this city's ever seen. I wonder if, when it's all said and done, is he one of the best trash talkers in his era in the NFL? Because you don't hear much about other players. But here was Brandon Graham after the game yesterday talking about the safety that happened and what he told the Bucs not to do.
I already said it on to one of the guys over there. I said, man, y'all don't even want to be on this one right here. And I hope y'all ain't running. And I'm just talking, having my fun. But, boy, they I didn't even see the play. I just know I was blocking. My guy was on me, and I just seen the whole line, everybody on their back. So I was like, all right, I told y'all boys, but I know that, we got something special we building.
I love that. Like, I love that he's barking at the line of scrimmage saying, don't run. And they just ate. I just saw, it's so funny. I just refreshed it, so it's literally been 10 seconds long. But my man Toot the Barber on Twitter, he posted a photo of the tush push, right, and how the Eagles are just lined up in front of that Bucs defensive front. I'd also want to see the opposite, when the Bucs were trying to run out of the end zone, and just the amount of gigantic bodies that the Eagles put up. There was, the Georgia Bulldogs, the SEC North, right, whatever you want to call it. You got all these guys at the line of scrimmage. It's got to be so scary. If you're that running back for the Bucs yesterday, and you're like, oh man, I'm getting the ball here, that must have been terrifying.
You sure you don't want Baker to try and throw us out of this? You sure?
Yeah, exactly. He was pretty bad yesterday.
Yeah,
Baker Mayfield.
Do we have a bigger back?
Yeah, he did not have his best game yesterday. The number to climb in is 610-632-0975 as we continue to react to the Eagles' win last night. How are you feeling through 3 weeks? I mean, I'm feeling better. I've already felt pretty good. I mean, if you've been listening to the show, I've been saying that I'm actually in a pretty good mood. And we had that guy yesterday, Mike from Cherry Hill, who was like, "Oh, you're what's wrong with sports and blah 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 blah. Things haven't been great. Blah 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 blah." Things are getting better,
Spot
and
on
they're 3-0, and they're only going to get better. And I love that. Also, coming up next, it's weird because the Eagles played yesterday, but it is a Tuesday, Ray. Now you have not been here the last 2 weeks. It's been Connor. It's a Power Ranking Tuesday, Ray. So we get to go through the power rankings. So I need you to have some of that NFL music ready, and we'll run through the power rankings from NFL.com, see if the Eagles climbed up a little bit now with their 3-0 start, or if they fell, because they like to do that sometimes. You get a nice reaction from Philadelphia, because I'm pretty sure they do that on purpose. But I'll give you the power rankings coming up next as well. 610-632-0975, the number to climb in. I'm Andrew Salchunas. This is 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Eagles 5, the Fanatic. I'm Andrew Salchunas, reacting to another win. Eagles improved to 3-0 after last night's win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa. Eagles fans took over, which I want to celebrate some more as the show goes on. But we got some power rankings to get to. By the way, 12 o'clock hour brought to us by Service First Heating and Air Conditioning. Get 0% financing for 72 months at a $500 rebate when you purchase a complete heating and cooling system from Service First. Learn more at ServiceFirstHVAC.com. All right, Ray, you got some football tunes for me? Thank you.
Little prime time?
Oh, yeah, I'll take it. I like this. So coming in at number 32. Now, you have not been here the last 2 weeks. We're rolling all through it from 32 to 1, and then I like reading the little blurb that they put on NFL.com for the Eagles. And I do the NFL.com power rankings because I think they are as reasonable as can be. Sometimes I think other networks try to get reaction. So I think NFL.com tries to be as legit as possible when it comes to the power rankings, which is why I go to theirs. So coming in at number 32, the Chicago Bears. How do you feel about that, Gruss? As he shakes his head in disbelief, even though I don't know what you were expecting. Not disbelief, he says. Justin Fields is awful. It's a shame. The one thing I needed to see out of him this year was if he could actually throw the football downfield to get back in games, because last year they lost a lot of one-score games, and it was because they would give up the late lead, and then they'd have 2 minutes left, and you can't run your way back every single time. And he's just been awful. And there's all kinds of stuff going on with Allen Williams, and all of a sudden the Bears are 0-3, and I don't think that is changing anytime soon. The Chicago Bears stink, and that's why they come in at number 32. They dropped 3 spots into this one. The Denver Broncos coming in at number 31. They dropped 8 spots, and it's probably because they gave up 70 points to the Miami Dolphins. Yesterday, Ray, you played the great audio of Sean Payton from the previous year talking about Tua Tagovailoa and how he's going to lose his job at one point. Well, Tua, I think, took that to heart, and the Broncos fall to 0-3 and drop 8 spots in the NFL.com power rankings to number 31. And again, like the Bears, I don't see that changing anytime soon. Panthers also 0-3. They come in at number 30. They've dropped 3 spots. The New York Giants drop another spot. They're now 1-2. And they are 29, so they dropped 1 spot. Coming in at number 28, the Colts actually climbed up 2 spots because Minshew Mania, Ray. I saw the Minshew jersey yesterday at the Eagles game. Maybe that's why. Maybe he was celebrating the win for the Colts the other day.
Oh, boy. This is the high water mark of Minshew for the season. You saw a jersey, and they won a game. Congrats.
Yeah. Look, he's eventually going to get exposed as he does every single year. But there's something about him where he comes out and they win a game and they beat the Ravens, which was an impressive win for the Colts.
Why couldn't he do it against the Saints last year?
That's a good question. He was awful last year.
So bad.
Coming in at number 27, the Raiders, they dropped 1 spot. They are now 1-2. That was another weird game. The Raiders were favorites against the Steelers. I didn't get it. I took the Steelers, and I'm glad that I did. Minnesota Vikings, they dropped 4 spots. The Vikings are now all of a sudden 26th in the NFL power rankings. It is amazing that last year they were 14-3, and nobody ever really felt like they had a legit chance of doing anything in the playoffs. And you saw right away they lost to that Drek and Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. Vikings offense couldn't do anything. Vikings defense stinks. And now all of a sudden they are 0-3. And more people, I was talking to a lot of people at the tailgate yesterday, Ray. They're expecting Cousins to probably get traded at some point. And, of course, the New York Jets is that team that keeps getting brought up.
Yeah, they got to move Cousins.
Do you expect it?
I expect them to start unloading parts at the deadline. Him to New York, though, for some reason, they keep going with this we back Wilson crap. Like, I understand you kind of have to.
Now.
It's easy to say, but maybe, don't lose half of your season because you just want to show some support behind this guy. You know he stinks.
Especially when you had a good roster. A good roster that could do some damage if they had a good quarterback. So the Vikings come in at number 26. Number 25, the Arizona Cardinals. Jonathan Gannon and the Cardinals, they jump up 7 spots because of that win over the Dallas Cowboys, which is still just so hysterical to me. So they climb up 7 spots. The Cardinals stink. The Cardinals will probably end up finishing with 4 wins. So they'll probably be in this 25 to 32 range all season long. But I will say thank you one more time to the Arizona Cardinals. For anybody that's worried about the Eagles because it hasn't been perfect, they're 3-0. The Dallas Cowboys are 2-1 because the Cardinals stole the game on Sunday. Coming in at 24, no movement whatsoever for the LA Rams. They lose last night in the other game. Now, let me ask you something, Ray. I was at the game, so I didn't have to deal with it. I saw some complaints online about the double box.
Oh, my. What a disaster. Nobody cares about the... That's why there's 2 channels, man. I don't know. I don't want to see kickoff. Also, you show me kickoff of a game. I don't care about the kickoff of the game. It's going to end up a touchback. We don't need to see anything. It was the dumbest thing ESPN had going last night.
Now, let me ask you, do they pump in the other broadcasts at all? Or does Joe Buck even make mention of it? Or do they try to act like you're still watching the Eagles game, but they'll all of a sudden cut the screen in half? Well, like, how did they do it?
I kind of forget about the way they attacked the announcer there. I just remember sitting there, and I think it's because I was getting loud. I honestly think I was upset. I don't care. Don't give me half a screen for a game I don't care about. There are enough screens around me that if I wanted to seek out that game, I would try and find a way to do it.
Part of me wonders, can they, and maybe I'll ask the engineer to my left, could they not do the double box for Philadelphians and people who live in Florida, but do the double box everywhere else? He says no. Because that would be what they should do. Because, again, if you're an Eagles fan in Philadelphia, you don't give a damn about Cincinnati and L.A. kicking off, and it's taking away from your viewership.
ESPN's got 67 channels. Let them put a double box somewhere else. Go find the next Scott Hansen and have him do Red Zone, but Monday Night Football doubleheader edition.
Exactly.
I don't need a double box on my screen.
Exactly. I'm sorry that you had to deal with that. I didn't see those complaints until today because, I wasn't really focusing on the broadcast last night. But yeah, that was crazy. Texans, they climb up 8 spots. That's a big jump for Houston. They're now at number 23. I was shocked that the Jags were as bad as they were against Houston. And C.J. Stroud's looked pretty good so far for Houston. I know they're still 1-2. I'm not about to jump on the C.J. Stroud train, but
I will.
Not you will?
Yeah.
You're all about Stroud?
I like Stroud. Tank Dell also, Houston product. I kind of like him as well as a wide receiver. I for what they've got to have played this decent so far and do what they did over the weekend. Yeah, you know what? I'll get on the Stroud train.
And I like D'Amico Ryans too. So I think he's gonna be a good coach, and I'm excited to see how that team continues to grow in the NFL. So not a bad start for a Texans team that had 2 top 3 picks in the draft. Back in April.
That helps.
So the Texans, that helps. They climb up 8 spots to number 23. Number 22, your next opponent for the Eagles, the Commanders, they dropped 3 spots. I still have no idea. We had a Commanders fan call in last week, Ray, that was all chesty about Sam Howell. He's awful. And this is another team. Like, the Commanders, if you think about it, the Commanders have talent in areas. Like, they have good guys on the defensive front. Terry McLaurin's very good. They actually have a decent little ground game. Wentz was so abysmal last year. And then, they still had Meineke last year. And then they put the keys in Sam Howell's hands. Remember, there was reports that the Commanders could have gone after Lamar Jackson.
Do you remember that?
I don't know if they just weren't aggressive about it or if, Lamar was just always trying to get some more money from Baltimore, which it worked out for him. But if you're the Commanders, they don't stink. You know what I mean? Like, there are worse rosters.
Right.
But Sam Howell he's awful.
What are you going to do? Take away the keys from the kid after you give them to him? Like that?
No, you're not going to.
Right.
But, they should have had a different plan going into the season.
I agree with that.
I don't know how they thought, this is the guy that we're going to ride with. But they're 2-1. They dropped 3 spots at 22. Coming in at 21, the Tennessee Titans. Derrick Henry had 20 rushing yards, I saw, Ray. 20?
Less than ideal.
Yeah, not good for a lot of you who have him on
Also,
fantasy football teams.
We got to get Tannehill up and out of there. It's over.
Yeah,
give one of the other ones a shot.
Yeah, but you know who else stinks? The Malik Willis.
Yeah, well,
I thought Malik Willis can be all right. Obviously, it was going to be a major project. And I remember watching, they were, I think, one of the first nighttime preseason games last year. And so I was excited to see Malik Willis, and he made some plays. And then remember, he got into games last year, and he was
not good.
Awful. So, I don't know what they're going to do. That's
go Levis. Levis is going to play like his hair's on fire. Man, single now.
That's right. That's a big deal.
Yeah, give him a shot. I think he wants something.
By the way, Andre Dillard. Remember, he's he was looking forward to his new opportunity, right? He was so excited. I still remember, like, when he had his first press conference with Tennessee, he was talking about how, oh, man, it's a great change of scenery for me. He did not do too well against Myles Garrett. And I know Myles Garrett's a tough matchup for anybody, but Andre Dillard stinks.
Yeah, I saw.
And the Tennessee Titans are with him. I mean, it's funny. You just search Andre Dillard on Twitter, and there's a lot of great memes. There's a lot of great videos. And apparently Myles Garrett was, like, trying to help Andre Dillard a little bit. Like, it got to the point where he was trying to help him out.
That's bad.
Yeah. It was here's a stat on Dillard. He's given up 6 sacks in 3 games. That's twice as many as any tackle in the NFL. So, not going well for Andre Dillard.
On pace to give up a lot of them.
And I don't feel bad at all. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they actually climbed up a spot, Ray, after yesterday's loss. They move up from 21 to 20. Whatever. The Bucs coming in at number 20. The Jets, they drop 8 spots. They fall to 19, and it shouldn't be this way. I know Rodgers is done for the season, but they should not go into this saying Zach Wilson's our guy. You just kind of talked about that. But they drop 8 spots. I mean, that offense could do nothing against New England. They only score 10 points. They lose 15-10. And now, if I'm the Jets, if I'm ownership, if I'm Robert Saleh, I'm making phone calls, right? They're taking phone calls and turning guys down, which is strange because there's no way they can rock with Zach Wilson when they have guys on this team that are talented both offensively and defensively. They dropped to number 19 in the power rankings, 1-2 on the season. Patriots climb up 7 spots. They're 18th now, a spot ahead of the New York Jets. Coming in at 17, dropping 3 spots, the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, they stink. Coming in at 16, moving up a spot, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. So now we're in the top half of the league. Chargers at 15, they move up a spot. The Saints drop 4 spots to 14. We'll see what ends up happening with Derek Carr. And here's the deal. The Jameis Winston situation's crazy, right? Because he has shown flashes with the Saints. We've seen it. And guys love him. If Carr has not looked good through the first 3 weeks before he got hurt. If Winston wins a game or two, do they rock with Winston? Or is it they go right back to Derek Carr? Like, what would you do, Ray?
Oh, they're going to have the conversation. They will most certainly have the conversation. I mean, they have to because, again, I think it's one of those situations they respect, like, the guys in that locker room like him. The organization seems like him. He's been loyal to them. You go win a couple of games, they might start to think they've got something there and start rolling with it. They just need a pile of wins in that division because there's not going to be a lot of them to go around there.
No, you might need to win 8 games and you can get into the playoffs in that division. Jacksonville, they dropped 4 spots. They're 13th now. They fall to 1-2 on the season, which is surprising, right? Obviously, the Chiefs lost. You're not surprised they lost. You're just surprised with how bad it looked. But now all of a sudden, Trevor Lawrence is somebody that you want to keep close eye on and go, all right, is Trevor Lawrence Urban Meyer Trevor Lawrence, or is he going to be any get back to where he was last year with Doug Peterson? He's not looked good through the first 3 weeks of the season. They fall to 1-2 on the season. The Seahawks climb up 3 spots. They're now 12th in the power ranks with a 2-1 record. Kenneth Walker obviously was incredible. And so the Seahawks starting to win some games after dropping that first week embarrassingly to the Rams. The Bengals move up 1 spot to 11th. They finally got their first win of the season, and I keep on using the Bengals as the example. The Eagles, they may not have looked perfect through 3 games, but they're 3-0. The Bengals, the other team in the AFC that a lot of people think could come out and get to the Super Bowl, they're 1-2, and they're just 11th in the power rankings. The Packers climb up 8 spots again. They're now 10th. I mean, come on, that's absurd. The Packers are not the 10th best team in the NFL.
Oh, now you're starting to doubt old Jordan Love and his crew? You will pay for that. You will pay for that, Shooters.
This is what they're going to do. This is what they're going to do because he looked great in week 1. Then he did not look great in week 2. And it's going to be a roller coaster with him all year long. He looks great in week 3. Oh, look, Jordan Love's back. It's going to be
he's
like
here to stay is
long.
what he is.
All right. Well, look, and they did deal with injuries in week 2, and it looked better in week 3. So good for the Packers and good for Jordan Love. I just don't see them as a top 10 team so far in the NFL. Not yet. Browns climb up 4 spots to 9. The offense still isn't looking all that great. It looked a little bit better. That was Deshaun Watson's best game, I think, as a member of the Browns. But that defense, we talk about how dominant the Eagles' defense has been so far. The Browns' defense has been one of the best defenses in the NFL. So they climb up into the top 10.
You know who's getting love for that?
Who's that? Oh, Jim Schwartz. I like Jim Schwartz. I know I'm alone when it comes to that. Jim Schwartz is a professional defensive coordinator, and I think he got everything out of what he could have gotten out of this defense when he was here. It was part of the reason why, what do you do in the Super Bowl? Okay, it was against Tom Brady. It was the greatest Super Bowl that a lot of us saw. Bill Belichick's supposed to be a great defensive mind too, and Nick Foles went off. So I don't get the Jim Schwartz hate. He's doing a tremendous job with Cleveland, and I did not want him to go in the first place. And then you bring in Jonathan Gannon, who was a mess. I know I probably disappointed you just now, didn't I?
No, you didn't. I didn't have a problem with Jim Schwartz.
I know people hate Jim Schwartz.
Yeah.
People hated Jim Schwartz here, and I thought he was a professional defensive coordinator that they won a lot of games with. And when the time came, red zone defense was always spectacular under Schwartz. I liked the guy. And, I know he's a little bit of a fraud because he talks about how much intensity and ferocity his defenses play with. It was kind of like that same Jonathan Gannon scheme his last couple of years with the Eagles, but you're seeing a little bit different with Cleveland. Sometimes having great talent helps that too. Baltimore drops one spot, but they're still 2-1. It's because of that loss to the Colts, but they're still considered a top 10 team. They're dealing with all kinds of injuries though, so we'll see if they can sustain that. Lions move up one more spot. They're now 7th in the NFL. They're 2-1 on the season. The Dallas Cowboys drop 2 spots. They fall to 2-1 after losing to the Cardinals. And it's a shame what happened to Trayvon Diggs, but they did not lose to the Cardinals because of Trayvon Diggs' injury. They just lost to the Cardinals because they're the Dallas Cowboys, and it's hysterical. But we'll see how big of a loss that is for the Cowboys with Diggs moving forward. But I still take so much joy in the fact that they lost to the Cardinals, and I love that I was able to watch it with Eagles fans in Florida. And we didn't just celebrate. I told you this yesterday. We didn't cheer. We laughed. We all laughed at the same time, and it was amazing. Buffalo Bills, they're starting to get their respect again. They move up one spot. They're in the top 5. They come in at 5. And how about this, Ray? The Eagles dropped a spot.
What?
The Eagles were number 3 in the power rankings every week until now. They dropped to 4. I'll read the blurb in a second. Chiefs dropped a spot. They're now 3rd. They're 2-1. The Niners dropped a spot to 2. And they're 3-0. So they're a 3-0 team that dropped a spot. Eagles are a 3-0 team that dropped a spot. And that's because the Miami Dolphins climbed from 5 to 1 now that they are 3-0 and they had that incredible game on Sunday. I guess that's fair.
That checks out.
That's fair.
You put
They
up
climbed
70.
4 spots. Yeah, you're gonna be looked at a little bit differently.
That's like Alabama against an FCS school type of game. So yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah,
but this is what they said about the Eagles. The guy writes, I really like how Joe Buck phrased it late in Philadelphia's victory on Monday Night Football. The Eagles have shown a lot of what they can do and not all of it. That really summed up Philly's past 2 games to me. The offensive advances were clear, but even with 2 beefy, productive outings, better is entirely possible. The pass protection was improved against the Bucs, and A.J. Brown clearly thrived in a featured role if there was ever a worry there. But the lack of red zone efficiency, which is what you've been talking about, Ray, added a new wrinkle. You'd love to see Nick Sirianni be a little bit more creative down there instead of having the Eagles just try to will their way into the end zone. But all in all, they're rounding into form. I think that's pretty fairly written.
I agree.
They have not been perfect. They looked better yesterday than they have the first 2 weeks. The defense was dominant. There's still some things that they need to work on. They still need to get a little bit better in the red zone. And that was the thing that you brought up yesterday. So you're spot on, Ray. Great job. You're a good football man. And so now it's up to Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson to start creating some better plays in the red zone. And I do like that they pointed that out, because here's the deal. We've talked so much about Brian Johnson. And we've talked about how the game plan going into it hasn't been great, but the adjustments have been very good. There's much more to that than just game plan and adjustments. It's also, what are you going to do against this team in the red zone? So there are a lot of things that he's going to have to work on to get better as an offensive coordinator in the NFL. But you still believe it. Like I'm not doubting Brian Johnson. I took calls after week 1 that it was a nepotism hire and this was such a bad idea by the Eagles and blah blah. Like, we totally overreacted in week 1, and you've seen now in the last 2 weeks him make in-game adjustments and halftime adjustments, and that's something that you should be excited for. And you go, all right, this guy knows what he's doing in game. Because my biggest question going into the season was, all right, I like Brian Johnson. I like that he's been here. He knows this offense, but does he know how to call plays? Right, because that's a feel thing. That's something that you're going to have to figure out. Like, it's great that he's been around, but all of a sudden it's second down and 8, and it's the third quarter, and you're down a score or you're up 3, but your offense hasn't been moving the ball that well. What are you going to call? right? And so sometimes you go, all right, well, he knows what he's doing, right? Well, I don't know. I got to see what he does every single play. And he has been making the right adjustments.
Yeah, and I think getting into the second half games, like we said, with what they've been able to do has been pretty impressive for just knowing what they've been up against early on, and especially against the defensive minds. And I do think at some point I'm going to get tired of mentioning who they've gone up against, because then once you start complimenting other teams' coaches, I think it starts to become more of an indictment on your own. But I think given what they've gone up against early and the way they've been able to adjust to make things happen, I think you got to at least be satisfied you've gotten the results and you've gotten the execution in the second half that you have.
Yeah, and that's good. That's a good sign. They're making the correct adjustments, and you just got to hope that maybe going into games now, the game plan is a little bit better. And it did look better yesterday. It did. They got in the red zone. It's just that red zone efficiency that wasn't all that great. So, they're getting into the red zone. That's a good sign. Now they just got to finish the job. And, you and I talked about this earlier. It's one thing to get 3 points against the Buccaneers, but when you're going to be playing the Dolphins in a couple of weeks and the 49ers in a couple of weeks and the Cowboys twice this year, you're going to need more than 3 points on opening drives. You don't want to have that early deficit where it's a 7-3 ball game because you haven't been able to get into the end zone. So that's something they're going to have to work on, and something that I'm not going to panic about.
Did really well last year, too. 68% of their red zone possessions ended in a touchdown. Last year, there was only 3 teams in football worse in the red zone than the Eagles have been through 3 weeks. So you got to get that cleaned up.
You got to get that cleaned up. Now, Jamal Hutchinson checks in, Ray. And you didn't realize this because you were just so angry. Apparently, ESPN actually muted the Eagles game for the kickoff of the Bengals game. Like, why are you doing that?
That's why it all went quiet for me. That's why I was the dominant voice in the room.
Why? I get that you're going to promote, hey, we got another game going on, but you can just quickly say that. You could just quickly say, hey, by the way, on what would it have been on ESPN2, I guess?
It was
obviously you
ESPN.
weren't looking for it.
So the Birds run ABC.
Okay, and then the other game was on ESPN. So you can go, hey, by the way, if you're interested in the Bengals and Rams game, that just kicked off, and maybe you show the quick double box and that's it. Even though I don't even want that, but you just do it real quick and get that out of the way. But you don't mute the Eagles game for the sound of the Bengals and Rams, and you don't do that for the flip side either.
What if they take the kickoff back? Right? Are you going to go soul into that game and just forget the game that was on the channel? Like, what are we doing here? Leave us alone.
That's terrible. You can't do that. That's something that just can't continue. All right, well, that's your power rankings. Eagles coming in at number 4. I want to have a conversation coming up on bigger picture with the Eagles. So here's what I want you to think about during the break. And I want you to answer this at 610-632-0975. And Ray, I'm going to get your answer as well, because we've been focusing on this game, obviously, the game that happened last night. But I want to start looking a little bit more bigger picture with this team and the things that we've liked, and obviously we've talked about things that need to get better since the beginning of the show today. But the bigger picture conversation, because the big picture obviously is Super Bowl. And I don't want to fast forward the season. I don't want to get to January. I don't want to get to February. I want to enjoy every single week. But when you take the step back and you do the 30,000 foot view above, and you look at the Eagles, how are things looking so far? I want to have a conversation on the bigger picture things with the Eagles following last night's win and following now 3 weeks of the NFL season. 610-632-0975. I'm Andrew Salchunas, and this is 97.5 The Fanatic. Now, listen, I know it's sunny here and it's warm here in Florida, but I'm going to be coming up home soon. And before I know it, it's going to be October, which means before I know it, it's going to be November. And I already know my car's already doing it. I'm getting the alert when I turn the car on. Check the tire pressure, right? It's going to start getting colder soon, and that means you're going to have to start checking in on your car a little bit more. I used to have a lot of issues with the battery back in the day when it would get too cold when I was living in Manayunk. So you want to get your battery inspected. Make sure that's still good to go. So this is where you go. You go to Meineke. You're not going to pay a lot, but you're going to get a lot at Meineke because they do a lot for you. You're going to get just total car care right. All right, right now Meineke is offering 50% off brake pads and shoes. And with the bad weather approaching, even if it's not snow, because I know we haven't had all that much snow, it does get icy and rainy. So you're going to want to make sure that your brake pads are good, the shoes are good. Also, full synthetic oil changes just starting at $59.95 up to 5-quart standard. And if you're short on cash, you can ask about Meineke's Fix Now and Pay Overtime programs. I love that they do this for you. Meineke is open on Saturday mornings to take care of all your auto repair needs, which is great, right? You don't want to do it on a Sunday. And then all of a sudden it's Monday and you go, oh my God, I didn't get this done. But they're going to be open for you Saturday mornings. So they give you the great deals. They're going to do anything for you to make your life easier. And they do everything when it comes to your car. They're going to make sure that you're driving safely, especially as the weather starts to get uglier and uglier in the great Northeast. Meineke doing car care right. 1251, 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Andrew Salchunas, broadcasting live from Coco's Crush Bar and Grill in sunny Clearwater, Florida. Yes, go Birds! Go Birds. See, we still got the Eagles fans. Nobody left yet. Well, Philly Sports Trips left this morning, but we got the Birds fans still here, and it's going to be great. It's just been incredible. And the greatest thing, Ray, I talked about this a little bit yesterday, and I talked about it on the pregame show as well, Bob and Pat, is that everybody that lives down here, like I know they're tired. The incredible, bartenders here at Coco's, I know they're tired because there have been Eagles fans in here like every single day. But everybody's been respectful, which is good. The Eagles fans have been. And every Uber driver has loved like every Eagles fan so far, which has been really cool. So good job. I give a lot of credit to Eagles fans. I didn't see anything happen yesterday. You know what I mean? Like I didn't see any fights happening in the concourse yesterday. So it was a good time, and Birds fans traveled so well. We talked about the 50-50 split and how loud it was when the things were going well for the Eagles. So it was a good time yesterday. Now, going into the break, I teased wanted to do a conversation on big picture stuff with the Eagles. And I didn't even see this until the break. But my God, when it comes to big picture stuff for the Eagles, Ray, you got to love that Howie Roseman is the GM of the Eagles.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a reason why. The Eagles, we have Super Bowl expectations with this team and really should over the next 5 years. And that's because of Howie Roseman. He found his quarterback, and they've also drafted so well. So the scouts have been tremendous. Howie's been tremendous. They haven't been overthinking the draft. They're hitting a lot of great players. And also, before the Hurts contract, because I know a lot of people kind of panicked when Hurts got the big contract. Not that anybody said they didn't want Hurts. It was just kind of like oh, no, this is what happens, right? Guys get the big contract, quarterback gets a big contract, and teams just aren't the same anymore. Howie Roseman and the Eagles have done such a tremendous job at getting these guys locked up early. Like, you look at the core of this team, you have a lot of guys that are still here for another 2 to 3 years before you're going to have to extend them or potentially lose them to free agency. So it's been tremendous, and Howie Roseman deserves a lot of credit. And so when you have Super Bowl expectations, you're still going to do whatever you can to make your team better. And something that he did last year, the Eagles were 8-0. They lost their first game to the Commanders. And what did he do? He goes out there and he signs Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph to shore up that the interior of the defensive line. The guys coming off the edge were great. We saw what Hassan Reddick did last year, but interior defensive line was a bit of a weakness for them, and they were still 8-1 when he made that decision. If Jalen Hurts, God forbid, went down with an injury, yes, Marcus Mariota is your backup quarterback, and you brought him in specifically to be the backup in case things were going poorly. But, Ray, if I asked you, Marcus Mariota has 2 bad weeks after Jalen Hurts, unfortunately, goes down. And let's say it's a season ender. Again, God forbid. Oof. Don't you think Howie Roseman would try to do whatever he can to get the best option in here and not just punt the season?
Oh, 100%.
You kind of expect it at this point, right? With how tremendous of a trader he is and everything that he does, making moves. He's going to do whatever he can to make the team great. The New York Jets, did you see who they're bringing in?
I did.
So we talked about this during the Power Rankings segment. We do it every Tuesday at 12:20. We go through the Power Rankings, go through the league, see how teams are doing, going up, going down. Eagles actually dropped a spot, even though they're 3-0. But we got to the New York Jets, who dropped 8 spots. Right, the Jets dropped out of the top 10 in the Power Rankings last week. Now they're number 19 in the NFL. And the sole reason is because of Zach Wilson. And so you and I talked about the Kirk Cousins thing and how if you're the Jets, maybe you start making phone calls to the Vikings and say, hey, because if you're the Vikings, you're not making a move now. But when is that record? You're right now 0-3, Minnesota. What's the moment where you're going to sell this guy that's going to be a free agent after the season? So we'll trade you a couple of picks because we believe in our team. All right, so you probably start having that conversation. But I believe Howie Roseman would be more aggressive, especially when Zach Wilson has been as bad as he's been. The New York Jets decide they will add a quarterback. They're bringing in Trevor Siemian, which is just an abomination. Like, Trevor Siemian's worse than Zach Wilson, I would think.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's their answer right now. That's despicable.
Yeah, it's a disaster. I got a buddy who's a Jets fan and a buddy who's a Broncos fan. And the group chat, I've just been informed that Trevor Siemian is the winningest quarterback the Broncos have had since Manning, which says more about the Broncos.
God. Yeah.
And the Jets fan has lost his mind. It's bad day up there for any Jets
Yeah,
fan.
because, and look, I go back, we talked about Wentz a little bit, right? He's a nutcase. He's a mess. But he has higher upside than Trevor Siemian. You know what Trevor Siemian is. And then the Matt Ryan thing, like I wouldn't bring in Matt Ryan because I think he's cooked and he wasn't even all that great last year when he was still playing. You know, Matt Ryan before Trevor Siemian's terrible. And so if I'm a Jets fan and I'm seeing that, we already saw a guy so angry that his teeth fell out of his mouth on Sunday, right? Like I can't imagine that he's okay. That Jets fan whose teeth were flying out when he was screaming at the field with Zach Wilson, that he's all right now because they brought in Trevor Siemian as their potential backup to Zach Wilson.
No.
And could you imagine if Howie Roseman did that? Like we'd be up a wall. But that's the beauty. Howie Roseman is a tremendous GM, and he has changed the way that we think about him over the last couple of years, and he deserves all the flowers that he gets right now because things are great. And so I can't believe it. I want to bring him up right away because Brian called in about the situation. Let's go to Brian in South Philly. Brian, you're on the Fanatic.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
What's up, Brian?
Yeah, I just read an article a little bit earlier. Tried to offer his services there, but was turned down. So wanted to get your thoughts.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was surprised by that. Like, at least, like, you can bring a guy in to a workout. Right? So, like, I found that weird that they just completely shot him down, and their reasoning was to have Zach Wilson's back. But how many more weeks can you go with Zach Wilson at this point, Brian?
Yeah, it doesn't hurt anything to bring a guy in and then to be considered Siemian over Wentz. That's just absurd.
And look, I mean, the Wentz thing we bring up because he's available and he's a guy that we know. But, I mean, even, like, getting aggressive and contacting Minnesota. Like, remember before the season, 2016, and the Vikings trade happened where Howie Roseman traded Sam Bradford to Minnesota and got a first and a fourth-round pick for that awful quarterback.
Yeah, I remember that.
But he was aggressive with selling Bradford. Yep. And I'm sure he'd be more aggressive with trying to buy a player. And yet, I mean, you see the New York Jets, they got a Super Bowl potential, not Super Bowl contender, but they got a very good roster. And they're basically punting the season now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason you brought in Rodgers. You clearly weren't sold on Wilson from the get-go. So to kind of backpedal now and say, oh, well, Zach's our guy is, completely counterproductive to what you brought in Rodgers for. You clearly didn't have faith in the guy from the get-go. So why not explore options?
Yeah, it really is amazing, Brian. I appreciate the call. It's just, I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening. But it's a shame if you're a Jets fan. And it makes you appreciate Howie Roseman more. So going into the conversation about big picture through 3 weeks, obviously if there's something that the Eagles need to improve on, that Howie Roseman is going to do that. And he started that off with, Miles Sanders. They weren't going to pay him, so he goes to free agency. So they make the great trade for DeAndre Swift. You've been seeing that defensively with the guys they've brought in, offensively the guys that they've brought in, paying for A.J. Brown, making the draft selection for Devontae Smith. Like, he has been hitting on all cylinders, so that's great. Now, Ray, let's get into this a little bit because it's been 3 weeks, right? So we've been focusing heavily on last night's game. And we went into the last night saying, all right, here's the things that we need to see that would make us feel a little bit better. And here are some things that have been good, but we would like to see even more improvement. We'll start offensively. Jalen Hurts, we've talked about him at length. It wasn't his best game, but maybe this season it was his best game. There were still some things that he needs to work on. There was, of course, the flu-like symptoms. But, Ray, I'll ask you, you're not panicking about Jalen Hurts yet, right?
No, I haven't reached that point yet. No. I think he's taken steps forward in each game, which has been encouraging.
The Zacchaeus touchdown was tremendous.
Yeah.
Like, that was that's Jalen Hurts from last year, that play.
Right. That was one of those where, okay. Yeah, and that you were kind of hoping that was the igniter. Like, oh, now he's really going to turn on this his thing. Not to go comparisons because I don't think this will last as long as it did for that player. But every time Trey Turner hit a home run, you were like, oh, this is the moment. I remember the Diamondbacks home run in June. You're like, oh, he's going to snap out of it. This is going like you're waiting for that igniting moment for Jalen Hurts. That's this is what's going to turn him and turn his season into what you expect it to be.
And the beauty is, like, this guy he owns everything.
Right.
Like he talked about yesterday, and how he's not going to cast blame anywhere. It's all on him, and And I love that. I love that he has that kind of mentality, that he's going to take onus on any sort of blame, and he's going to try to do whatever he can to get better. And I respect that. I appreciate that. And I hope that everybody appreciates that. And then, so that's the quarterback aspect of it, right? Like, nobody should be panicking about Jalen Hurts just yet. And I do know, like, again, I had callers last week, right? It wasn't a caller. A guy, my buddy texted me, and I didn't hear from him yesterday, which is probably a good thing. But my buddy texted me last week saying, did they jump the gun on paying Jalen Hurts and blah, blah. I'm like, I don't know if last night made him feel any bit better. I should probably reach out to him. Maybe we'll talk about it a little bit tomorrow. But, I mean, I don't think there was an idea of jumping the gun. You're going to pay him because he's the guy that you believe in. And it's just been a little bit of a slower start. But I imagine things get better, and we kind of talked about this earlier, because of how well DeAndre Swift has ran the football the last 2 weeks. If you're a defensive coordinator, you're going to have to start paying attention to that. And if they start trying to take away the run, I think that really opens some things up for Jalen Hurts. But now, big picture, right, we look at the running backs. Can this Eagles team can they keep this up when it comes to the ground game? Right now, they have the second most rushing yards in the NFL as a team. DeAndre Swift has the second most rushing yards amongst individual running backs. This was something they did really well 2 years ago. Last year, it was the Jalen Hurts show, even though they did run the football well when it was called for. Do you want it to be a run-heavy offense again with the Eagles?
No.
Okay.
I don't want it to be a run-heavy offense again. I like the fact that you can pivot to that when things are not working, but in terms of what wins in this league and what ultimately takes you, we talk big picture, to the promised land, you need to be driven through your quarterback, and you need him to be the one that's leading your success. Could they run like this for an entire season? I could see them being able to dominate, maybe not to the 200 yards a game that we're seeing, but somewhere, 150s to the 160. I could see them doing that. But I need to see the passing offense take off and take that leap. I understand you've been winning with the running game, but you've been winning with the running game because it's been the adjustment to go to when you haven't had what you wanted there at times.
And then so you got to give Brian Johnson that kind of credit, because big picture, right? And that's what I'm trying to get into right now is big picture. Through 3 weeks, Brian Johnson alone, he's had great adjustments, and I got to give him a lot of credit for that, because I know after week 1 people were panicking. I had emails, I had people calling it was a nepotism hire because he knew Jalen Hurts and he was already in the system. Well, I feel like that's kind of a normal thing to do, is to call some guy up unless there's a far and away better option out there. And they didn't see a far and away better option out there as an offensive coordinator, so they give Brian Johnson the promotion, and I think that was a smart move to do. And we have seen him so far through 3 weeks. Like, if I were to ask you, what's the grade for Brian Johnson, what would you give him? So I'd say like B minus maybe?
Yeah, somewhere to the B minus, C plus range. C feels a little harsh. B minus feels probably right about where it is.
But it's not because he's been terrible. It's just, and that's not what we're expecting him to be the rest of the season, too. We've pointed it out. Red zone efficiency needs to get a little bit better. I'm going to guess that he's going to find a comfort when it comes to certain play calls, when it comes to the red zone moving forward. He just hasn't found that just yet, other than the tush push in short yard situations, right? He's going to have to come up with something. And, by the way, A.J. Brown did drop 2 touchdown passes yesterday in the red zone. So, it would have been a little bit better of a turnout if those touchdowns were hauled in. There was the one on the red zone right in the 1 yard line that he dropped, but they did eventually score anyway. But that would probably change if the ball's held on to. But early on, and that was the thing that you really wanted to see improve yesterday, was the early on getting into the red zone and scoring, which they once again turned it over on downs. And their second drive, they only got a field goal. There's going to be feel, and he's going to figure that out. At least I would hope he does, because I can't sit here and say he's not going to.
No, I can't sit here and say that, because right now, all you're doing is projecting out the growth of someone that really is an intangible thing. Like finding that feel, maybe he doesn't have it yet, but I can't sit here and say I don't think it'll ever happen. I mean, there's been a number of situations where guys have shown you, I don't think he has it, and eventually you find that, you develop into that. I can't sit here today and tell you, it's never going to happen. It was a mistake. We can't. It's too reactionary and too much prisoner of the moment. Because there's examples of plenty of guys, and I've gone over this with the beginning of new offensive coordinators before it's not always the prettiest thing to start. It's about learning what works and what doesn't. And you Gotta imagine they're going to adjust within the organization if things don't go the way they expect them early on.
Yeah, and you're going to see defenses now adjust to what has worked for the Eagles, and I would hope that opens some things up for Jalen Hurts. Now, Tyrone checks in. He texts me. 6 teams offered Brian Johnson a job. I don't know if it was head coaching or offensive coordinator, half and half or 4 and 2 or whatever, but 6 teams offered Brian Johnson a job, right? He said they had to promote them or he was gone. So if 6 teams valued Brian Johnson to be their offensive coordinator or even their head coach, because I do know he had head coaching interviews during the offseason, why wouldn't you believe in the guy if he's that valued around the NFL?
You don't have a real good reason not to. Like, you have to believe that they made, and they did. There was the hire that made the most sense. Like, you weren't going to just sit there. He wasn't going to sit there and be your quarterback's coach like you're laying, like Tyrone checks in with, like what you're putting out there. He had other options to go do other things. It was the promotion that made sense. Just because your first day on the job isn't the best work you've ever done doesn't mean that your first month on the job isn't the best work you've ever done. Doesn't mean that you're going to fail at that job forever. It's about learning from that and growing from that. So I can't sit here and say, he's not going to get to that level. We graded everyone on their first month on the job. I think we'd be in quite the place as a world right here.
And then if I continue to do big picture, right, wide receivers, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, I'm still expecting a double 1,000-yard receiving season for them. I mean, you saw it, right? Devontae Smith was taken out of the game a little bit yesterday by the Buccaneers defense. They focused more on him after he had 2 great weeks to start the season. And then A.J. Brown goes off. And I'm hoping everybody that was worried about the what he did on the sidelines just kind of we could put that at ease now.
Nope, friendship over. It's done. They're never going to talk again.
Oh, my God.
It's T.O. all over again.
Yeah, exactly. He was tremendous yesterday. Devontae Smith's going to continue to be tremendous. Now we have to see when Dallas Goedert gets involved. That's the biggest one because Dallas Goedert, I do think they force-fed him the football last week. 6 catches, 26 yards. It's been a weird, quiet season for Goddard.
Yeah,
I don't really know why.
Odd.
I mean, it is, especially when you run the football as well as you are. You would think that could get Dallas Goedert some open looks, and so maybe that will change as the season goes on. Obviously the Bucs have some decent linebackers too, so they were probably shadowing Dallas Goedert all day yesterday. But I'm expecting the break. Like, we're expecting the Jalen Hurts breakout game at some point soon. I'm also expecting the Dallas Goedert breakout game soon. But that also goes back to what we've been talking about over and over again. It is so hard to defend this team. You try to take away 1 or 2 guys, there's still going to be another 1 or 2 weapons that will be out there for the Eagles to do some damage. By the way, 1 o'clock hour is presented by Ferguson HVAC Line Conklin. Attention HVAC contractors for equipment, parts, and supplies for every heating and cooling job. Visit one of Ferguson's counter locations in Ben Salem, King of Prussia, Pennsauken, or Westchester. I mean, we've been glowing about the defense all day long today, and it's been great that we've been seeing them play better and better. And I like that Sean Desai's kind of got that leg up on OCs right now. It helps when you have this much talent, and it helps when you have the youth that you have in the interior defensive line. You have the great guys with the pass rushing, and the corners have been tremendous so far too. And I'm excited to see Sean Desai continue to grow as the DC of this team because we talked about it yesterday, the Bradbury move, and it clearly worked out. I like a guy who's a defensive coordinator that even though he may have his scheme and he may have his system, I do like that he's going to be creative at times. And we saw that yesterday where he was creative moving James Bradbury. We're going to see him move. I imagine at some point, Jalen Carter is going to be moved around the defensive line too.
With the way he's playing, I don't know what you can't do with him on that front right now because he's mauling everyone he sees. And especially going into that matchup last night, knowing that the Buccaneers' interior offensive line has already had its struggles. You were anticipating something big and what they were able to do. And this defensive front has looked so good, and you haven't even seen Hassan Reddick do much of anything yet. And that's the scary. That keeps me going back to this defense, what they've been able to do on the personnel on the back end to make them look better and kind of scheme them up into success. And what you've seen from the defensive front so far keeps getting me more and more excited for what they can do, what that unit's potential is when we entered this season with plenty of uncertainty there.
Yeah, and that's why you go back to what Joe Buck said. I read it during the NFL, the power rankings, where the Eagles are 3-0 and they still haven't even looked all that great, right? And you just wait. They are going to get better, and I'm excited for it. So I want to talk big picture with you through 3 weeks, but also reaction to last night's win. Jalen Hurts, not the prettiest game, but still another effective game by Jalen Hurts. And the defense, I want to celebrate defense. That goes back to our roots. I want to enjoy a little bit more what they did yesterday because they were tremendous. 610-632-0975 to climb in to talk about it. This is Andrew South Jr., 97.5, The Fanatic. Get ready to start the NFL week off right. Right? It's also on Tuesday. So the Birds played last night on Monday Night Football.
my bank account might be crying a little bit. So
That's true because you're a tremendous fan. You went to like every single Phillies game possible last year, which was awesome, and I respect that. Now, I thought when you were saying pacing ourselves, I thought you were taking a shot at me because of this weekend.
No, I would never do that. No, of course not.
I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, listen,
I had a lot of fun this weekend. I'm ready to go back to my bed. I'm ready to dry up for a couple days.
Okay, couple days. What? 2? You're back at it Friday.
Well, I mean, listen, I'm gonna have to celebrate the Phillies making the playoffs.
That's a good point. So tonight doesn't count. Tonight's an extension of.
And then I got to watch the Eagles on Sunday, 1:00 game. A little day drink session. I think I got to cool it a little bit.
Saturday there's going to be football on, so that might drag you to it. Friday you were away, so you didn't get a chance to see people last weekend.
That's true. I'm going to see people back at home. That's a good point, Ray. But yeah, I had a lot of fun this week. It was tremendous. I mean, when we close up the show, I'm going to obviously thank Vince and everybody down here in Clearwater. But it was a lot of fun. But it's just so cool being around all my fellow Eagles fans and Phillies fans that were just so passionate. And the other night, it was Saturday night, we did a little happy hour that Vince put together, and the Phillies and Mets were playing, and everybody was surrounding the TVs, watching the games. It was cool because it was also the Colorado-Oregon game, and then the Phillies game was on, and so everybody was. It was just great, hanging out with fellow sports fans that were just locked into it. So it was a cool weekend, and now before you know it, we're going to be doing Phillies playoffs with an Eagles season. And again, even though it hasn't been necessarily pretty for the Eagles, they're 3-0, and so I want to still celebrate that win yesterday and say, all right, even though it wasn't the prettiest of games, they have room to grow. And I'm expecting them to get better. I'm still expecting Jalen Hurts to get better. I don't think, again, I had a caller earlier on that was like, it seems like you're being very critical of Jalen Hurts. Well, yeah, which is fair because Jalen Hurts hasn't played to the level of expectations that we have for him. Now, we found out about the flu-like symptoms. Now, I don't believe he threw a back foot throw that floated up there and was intercepted because of the flu. I think that was just an unfortunate bad play because he had pressure in his face. And if you're Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, Trevor Siemian, right, doesn't matter who the quarterback is, if you float one up like that, you're putting yourself in danger for an interception. And he did that yesterday, and that's something that he's going to have to just get past. I'm not crushing him for the first interception. I think that was just miscommunication between him and DeAndre Swift. But Jalen Hurts looked a little bit better yesterday. We keep on talking about the Zacchaeus touchdown, how that one looked more like prime Jalen Hurts from last year, and that's exciting. And it's only going to get better for the Eagles. 610-632-0975. Let's go to my man, Uncle Frank. What's up, Uncle Frank?
Happy Tuesday, squad.
What's up?
Oh, good. Hey, Ray. Ray, get ready because I have no agenda. Ask me anything. What do you want to know?
Oh, no.
Come on.
Oh, well, what were your thoughts on the game? I mean, you watched.
Yeah, I did. Jalen, they're seeing something with him, but I got to tell you, this defensive line has got me jacked. And these Jalen Carter stats are outrageous.
Aren't they tremendous, man? And I remember it was a couple weeks ago you said he reminds you of Jerome. So, that's...
Yeah.
That's pretty cool that you watch Jerome and you're going, man, I see that resemblance with Jalen Carter. And it wasn't just a resemblance of a couple of plays. He is actually playing well to those numbers that I've been giving you where he's been, this top defensive tackle, this, him and TJ Watt are the only two to do this so far this year. He's in pretty good company right now.
He's in great company. And I got to tell you, Jerome Brown, for his size, was incredibly strong and quick. It's a short sample size, so bear with me, but I think Jalen's stronger and quicker.
Wow.
So his upside, yeah.
Look, I had a caller earlier. His name was Todd, and he's a Buccaneers fan. So he's not even. This isn't green colored glasses. He called in and he said he thinks Jalen Carter is a future Hall of Famer. And that's, again, he's not an Eagles fan, right? So it's not like, you and I are saying that for 3 games. This is a guy from a different fan base.
I've heard pundits who I really respect and admire, and they just say his upside is just, he can go exponentially up. So The sidebar, I just want to tell you, the Tunis bar car, we got it covered in plastic.
Okay. We're ready for the champagne bottles to be popped.
Champagne's going to be popped. One might have already popped. I can't confirm nor deny.
Well, it's almost 2:00, so you were thirsty.
Yeah, very good. You're a good listener. You know me better than myself. But I anticipate we're popping them, so it should be fun.
Yeah, I think Nola has another good. I mean, the Pirates stink, so I'm expecting him to. And thanks for the call, Uncle Frank. Always great talking to you. I'm expecting Nola to have another good outing. Now, if he doesn't today, we are going to lose our freaking collective minds. But there's no way he shouldn't have a good outing today against the Pirates. And I know earlier this year we said that about the Royals, and then he ended up getting beat up by the Royals. So hopefully it's a different result. Would you use tonight's start, Ray, by Nola to make – because you said – was it yesterday? Was it you or was it Connor last week that said Nola's starting to make you feel better?
Oh, it was me yesterday. I'll raise my hand on that one. That was me.
So another good outing today would make you feel even better?
Another outing where we see the changeup looking the way it did. Because I think that ultimately is going to be a decider. And just the way he commands the bottom of the zone. I think that'll be what I'm looking for today from him. More than like if he goes 6 innings, only allows 2 runs, but they're, swatting him around. And it's like, oh, wow, line drive, right at Harper over at first. Like a line out to right that's right at the track. I'm not going to feel as comfy as if he's kind of dominating the bottom of the zone and playing to his strengths and the changeup starts to look better for me. That'll be kind of the determining factor for me.
Because I told you yesterday, I'm not going to get confident, period, right? I'm going to take pitch by pitch in the game 2 of the wild card round, right? Like I'm not using anything from this season, good or bad, and I like how you're looking at it. You're not just looking at numbers. You're looking at where he's at in the zone, how the his changeup's moving. But how I'm going to do it is game 2, pitch by pitch. I'll be peeing my pants the entire time, nervous of Aaron Nola, but just hoping that every pitch is a good result. And that's just how I'm going to handle things. So I'm not going to use an outing tonight. But like, here's the shame of it, right? If he looks bad tonight, I'm going to have the opposite reaction.
Right.
Where I will then feel worse going into the playoffs than, me saying, well, I feel better because he had another good outing, which that might be unfair. But it's been like this all season long, so I would think you can't blame me for that.
There's so many people out there with you on that.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. Tomorrow, I'll be the one person that shows up here like, tough one. Like, if he didn't look good. I don't feel good about him right now. I think I will be, probably the lowest percentile of people freaking out. Because if he does not look good for even a moment tonight.
God, people are going to be freaking out.
I mean, to be fair, though, a week from today, we're into it. Like, we're moving towards what's going to end up being the wild card. The
playoffs are October 3rd is game 1.
A week from today is game 1. Yeah. So you are 8 days away from watching Aaron Nola start a postseason game. I understand why some people might sit there and freak out a little bit because it's right there. It's happening. Where's the talk? Whether you like it or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether you like it or not.
Give us a good one tonight so that we're feeling a little bit better, even though I'm not going to. But just don't make me feel worse with a bad outing tonight.
Make me feel better.
Ask. Yeah, to make Ray feel better. That's all we want. Let's go to Brian in Levittown. Brian, you're on the Fanatic.
Hey, what's going on, boys? Sorry to bother you at work.
What's up, Brian? Thanks, man.
So I just want everybody to stop ragging on the Eagles, all right? It was a great game yesterday. I enjoyed it from kickoff to kickoff at the end. Look, if A.J. Brown doesn't drop 3 touchdown passes, we're talking a completely different game here. We're talking about how great they looked, how dynamic they were, how in control they were. They owned both sides of that football. And if this team is only going to get better week after week from what we're seeing, who's going to stop them? We played a 2-0 team last night. We didn't play Arizona like Dallas did. We didn't lose to an 0-2 club. And in conclusion, before I leave, I'm taking my kid down to the Phillies game tonight to watch them clinch. So let's go.
Oh, that's
Phillies.
awesome. I love that. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate the call. That's great. I'm glad that they're going down. I've had the privilege to see clinchers in the past, wild card or division. So that's really cool. I hope he enjoys that moment with his family. But yeah, I mean, you go to the Eagles, right? So we have to do this for a living. We have to talk 4 hours, and so we're going to point out the good, we're going to point out the bad, we're going to point out the not so good, or things that they need to improve on, and that's what we're going to do. And there were moments yesterday where I go, all right, well, that can't happen again. Like Jalen Hurts' second pick, that can't happen again. But then I could also go, man, look at all the things Baker Mayfield did wrong yesterday. Look at all the things that Todd Bowles did wrong as the head coach, and Nick Sirianni had a better game. Look at how Brian Johnson outcoached Todd Bowles and the defensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with his game plan and the adjustments they made. So you can do all that stuff without being over the top. And that's why earlier on the day I pointed out there's that quote from Good Morning Football where it was like, the Eagles are 3-0, but they basically got by, and the 49ers have beaten the three teams that they've played. And all right, that might be true, but it's through 3 weeks. So does that make the 49ers the clearing away the better team than the Eagles?
If the Eagles did to the first three opponents what the Cowboys did to the Giants in week 1, and something to that effect, like maybe not 40-0 every time, but just dominated end to end, right, we'd be hearing about, oh wow, well that Vikings team's 0-3, so what can you really take from that game? The Patriots, Mac Jones really isn't an upper-tier quarterback, so what do we know about them? And, by the way, that Buccaneers team, their first 2 wins were kind of fool's gold. They're not really that good. Let's not put a lot of stock in that. We still need to see the Eagles team that we expected from a season ago. They weren't going to be quick to give the Eagles credit, considering they spent the entire offseason trying to discredit their NFC Championship game.
Yeah, and here's the deal. I mean, that is real, though, right? Like the team that loses the Super Bowl and how they look the following year. There are stats to back that up. But then you can't just live by the statistics, right? Like you can't just live by the past. When I go, oh, well, yeah, but Jalen Hurts is very young. It's not like he's not like a veteran aging quarterback that his body must be beat up. Obviously, he's probably still beat up because he's a quarterback. He's going to take some hits, and we've seen that through 3 weeks. But I look at this team and I go, where is that area where that Super Bowl hangover is going to really kill them? Maybe offensive line, because obviously you're playing that many games at a tough position, and you're also aging in certain areas with Lane Johnson at the right side and Jason Kelsey in the middle. But then you have a young left tackle, you have a young left guard, you have a young right guard, and they've been playing pretty well. Dickerson's injury, obviously, yesterday. We'll see how that ends up going. But the Eagles' offensive line is still youthful, and they're so talented. And then the same thing, the defensive front. I could say, yeah, maybe Fletcher Cox takes a step back, and maybe Brandon Graham take a step back because they played so many games last year. Well, they're only playing 20, 30% of the snaps because of the rotations that they have going on out there. And they've bolstered the team through the draft, through free agency, guys that weren't playing in the Super Bowl. I look at this team, the roster that they have, and it's built to actually still succeed after losing in the Super Bowl. I could make that case. And they've shown that by winning 3 games, even though they did not have as much time off as everybody else, and even though they didn't even play at all in the preseason. And yet they're still 3-0.
I keep coming back to that, too, with the 3-0. Like, in terms of the race in the NFC, sure, you want to say the 49ers have beaten the teams, and the Eagles have just won. Guess what? At the end of the day, both teams are 3-0 right now, and there's going to be a matchup.
The Dallas Cowboys, you talked about how dominant they were against the Giants, right? They were dominant against the Giants. They were dominant against the Jets, against Zach Wilson. They were dominant through 2 weeks. But then what happens? They lost to the Arizona Cardinals, right? It was embarrassing. They had an embarrassing loss to the Arizona Cardinals, and they fall to 2-1. And so the Eagles are now in first place in the NFC East. They got a full game ahead of them because they have not had an embarrassing loss. And the Dallas Cowboys had all the hype, right? All the hype after 2 weeks. That's going to happen every single year with this team. And it's hysterical that they never reach the expectations that people have. I love it. I take great joy in it. Screw Dallas, right? Screw that. Say exactly. Screw Dallas. Dallas sucks. And so through 3 weeks, they're now 2-1 because they had a terrible loss to the Cardinals, and the Eagles have not had a terrible loss to any of the 3 teams that you mentioned, right? Right. You go, oh, well, that Vikings win's not as impressive because they're 0-3. Well, that Vikings loss would have been even worse if they had lost to them because the Vikings would be 1-2 and the Cowboys and the Eagles would be 2-1. So take it with what they got. They're 3-0, and they still can improve, and that makes me feel confident that they are going to get better. Let's go to Seth in Lansdale. Seth, you're on the Fanatic.
Hey, guys. I totally hear y'all, man. We're up. We got 3 games. We didn't look as dominant, as put together as we'd like to be, but we've got great pieces, and I have faith that we just keep this up. It's going to click. And, these wins, even though they're not pretty, we got to take pride in the work that these guys are doing and just ride that wave and not get too ahead of ourselves and comparing to other teams like the Cowboys who's all hype, whatever you might call it. So I think everybody just needs to calm down and just take game by game and enjoy the fact that we got 3 right now and not make it this very stressful time for no reason. That's what a lot of my friends are doing. They're saying, oh, we don't look that good. I'm like, look, we got 3 games. It's 0. Calm down. Ride the wave. We'll figure it out. We're going to look like the team that we were last year, we hope. But the fact of the matter is we're not in a bad place right now, and sometimes it feels that way because our expectations are so high.
Right. And Seth, like I always say this, we can be honest with ourselves when other teams may have looked better so far. And the San Francisco 49ers for 3 weeks have looked like a formidable opponent. But the Eagles don't play them until week 13. So why should I worry about the San Francisco 49ers right now? The 49ers were everybody's darling in the playoffs last year. And what happened? 31-7 happened. Okay? So, like, why am I not supposed to expect that same result can happen?
Well put. And, it would be a different story if instead of the 49ers playing that way, it was the Cowboys. Then we'd be having a different conversation because the NFC East, we have a different picture to it. But like you said, the way they played against the Cardinals, man, we're going to eat them alive if they play like that against us.
Yep, Seth, I totally agree with you, man. Thanks for the call. And think about the Cowboys, right? Dak Prescott. That interception was terrible. That was such a bad interception that he threw in the fourth quarter with like 3.5 minutes left. Right, you played the audio yesterday of the Cowboys radio network during the vault and, how defeated they were after that happened. Jalen Hurts isn't doing anything like that. Like, Jalen Hurts is smart with the football, and he's not throwing it right into another defender's arms. He did do it week 1, right? So, again, we'll be honest when something did happen bad, but that was the one time, and that was not in a clutch moment, right? That wasn't in a game-clinching moment or a way to continue the game. Jalen Hurts has been smart with the football. Dak Prescott showed you what he can still go back down to, and what he did was embarrass himself against the Arizona Cardinals, and I love that. And now the Eagles they got a full game lead. So, yeah, we're going to compare teams. We're always going to do that, right? You haven't been around the last couple of weeks. Every Wednesday, which we'll do this tomorrow, I've been going through the NFC East and the NFC, right? I look at basically it's an extension of the power rankings, but we kind of break down the teams that we really want to focus on in the NFC, who's in that path, who's in the way of the Eagles to try to get the 1 seed again. And so we're going to talk about the 49ers. We're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to talk about, the Seattle Seahawks. Now they're 2-1 again, even though you might not believe that the Seahawks can do any damage. But they're going to be in the conversation. They'll probably be one of the 7 playoff teams. And can they stand in the Eagles' way? We're going to do this every single Wednesday and see where we are compared to these other teams. So we are still going to compare. But I'm not going to come out of the segment and say, man, that 49ers team is good and the Eagles have absolutely no shot, when I just saw history not too long ago. The Eagles beat up the Niners.
Yeah, and you shouldn't, this early on in the season already, for a team that's got this expectations, that has this amount of talent, like if this was in an unproven group, a group that hadn't shown you anything before, sure, I understand maybe cause for concern with the way, the way this team can play at its ceiling. It's about find that early on. If you're 1-2, if you're 2-1, like then you can start, okay, how does this impact us going forward? You haven't lost any ground in the standings and you're still figuring stuff out. We had our guy Dawood tweeted at us earlier today, or it might be one of the two. It was definitely me. I got the tweet. He said, do you think there are some fans out there that prefer the Eagles be 2-1, but Hurts have had a 300-plus yard game where he was going crazy? And I would say if there is that fan out there, and Dawood was saying that he wouldn't want that, but he thinks there's a fan out there that might want that, I would say to that fan, that's just, you've lost the grip on reality here. Goal is to go win the football game. I'm sorry to sound like a cliche-ridden quarterback right now, but it's
that's
true.
Kind of who we have right now anyway, so it's okay.
The main thing is the main thing, man. Like, you want to win these games. Like, the fact that he has not looked to the potential yet, obviously we're going to talk about it, we're going to critique it. But at the end of the day, and it's a perfect way for us to put the bow kind of on the show, is that they're 3-0. As much as you can be concerned about different aspects of it, being 3-0 means you haven't lost any ground on anyone in this league yet.
Yeah, and how about I say I want the Eagles to be 3-0, but I still hope and believe that Jalen Hurts will throw that 300-yard big day, right? Like, just because he hasn't done it through 3 weeks.
Everything that's wrong with this.
No, but just because he hasn't done it through 3 weeks doesn't mean he's never going to do it.
Nope.
I get that Dawood's asking that question, but like he's going to get back. And I'll keep going back to it. Now that DeAndre Swift has rushed for 175 yards and 130 yards, what are defenses going to do? They're going to start defending the run against this team because of how dominant it's been. Obviously, the offensive line is incredible. So they're going to start scheming up against that. And then that's going to open things up for Jalen Hurts. We already saw A.J. Brown finally have his breakout game. Devontae Smith had it last week. We're expecting Dallas Goedert to have it at some point. Like, there's going to be that game where this offense really explodes in the passing game because defenses are now going to have to start scheming against the run because of how dominant it's been the last couple of weeks.
It's like a game of whack-a-mole for defensive coordinators. You can knock one up, another one's going to pop up. You're not going to be able to stop everything happening at once. And that's the great thing about this offense. That's the great thing you've seen. And they've been able to win without it playing as best. Yeah, there'll be better defenses, there'll be better opponents. And it's why, I talked about the red zone thing is killing me right now. And the execution in certain situations for the offense is killing all of us right now. But you just have to kind of hand it to them of, yeah, you're in a good spot because you put yourself in there. You guys have created the opportunity for yourself to find your footing and also lead your division at this point.
I still can't believe, going back to last night, that I sat next to a Patriots fan who was now a Bucs fan and tried talking down about the Eagles and how they're not that good. And then he did shake my hand before he left. He left in the third quarter. So the 2 Bucs fans around me left in the third quarter. He shook my hand, said, good game. I was like, all right, dude, get out of here. I just don't understand how you can jump ship from the Patriots to the Bucs just because of one specific player, even though he is the greatest quarterback of all time. It was just weird to me. But the beauty of this, right, even though we've been all over the place with the Eagles, positive, negative, we're passionate. And I love that, right? I love how passionate we are because I saw a lot of fans yesterday, Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans, that weren't as passionate as their squad, and that's why it was as loud as it was yesterday. This was an incredible opportunity, an incredible trip. I had so much fun. I got to thank Vince, our man, Philly Sports Trips. Check him out, phillysportstrips.com. He does just such a tremendous job. I will say that over and over and over again, whether it's a home tailgate at the Live Casino and Hotel, which is where we're going to be doing pregame for home games, or if it's any of the road games. And, just check out the website, phillysportstrips.com. The way I always say it, and I know Pat says it too, it's basically an all-inclusive, right? You pay up front. He takes care of the rest. He'll take care of the happy hour. He'll take care of the tailgate. He'll take care of a dinner maybe one night. And, obviously you go to different spots around the town that you go to. I know they got a trip to Kansas City, so he's got some fun stuff in store with KC and the barbecue and all that kind of stuff. So check him out, phillysportstrips.com. Vince Rizzuto just does a tremendous job. And these last couple of days have been so much fun. So I thank him for getting us down here. I thank FanDuel for having us do the pregame show down here yesterday, which was great. Got to thank Coco's Crush Bar and Grill. They've hosted us a lot this week. I had some 12:30 a.m. chicken tenders and fries last night at a different Coco's location down the street because I was so hungry and needed something to celebrate the win with. So the people down here have been tremendous. Everybody at the hotel, the Wyndham Grand, everybody was fantastic. But it's been a lot of fun. Robert Grussman has done a tremendous job. He's been working all these crazy shifts here. He's been getting into this bar at 4 o'clock in the morning, if not earlier. And now he's starting to break down the equipment, and we're gonna lug that together onto the airplane. So that's gonna be a lot of fun for Gruss. I see the smile on his face now. But so thank you to Robert Grussman for coming down here, and everybody, of course, at the Fanatic was helped out. Ray, you've been doing a tremendous job. I know you've been working with John Kincaid in the morning, and then you've been sticking around with me on middays, so I appreciate that as well. I'm looking forward to being back. As much fun as I had down here, I am looking forward to be back. Can't wait to hang out with my Eagles fans back at home, back in Philly, back in South Jersey, wherever we're hanging out at the time. So looking forward to that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But we're going to continue this. Ray's going to be with me for the time being. Connor Thomas, who I know is back at the studio right now, actually. I talked to him a little bit during one of the breaks. You got to check him out at night with Tom Alvord. He did a great job with me the last couple of weeks, and I appreciate Connor with all the help that he's done. So back to reality tomorrow, Ray, when I'm back in the studio.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to a good time.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And hopefully, we're what was that, Ray? All right, hopefully we're also reacting to a Phillies win tomorrow and clinching the playoff spot and the number 1 seed in the wild card, which is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun moving forward for Philadelphia sports. Sixers right around the corner. I know people are still worried about that, but Phillies and Eagles. Phillies will be in the playoffs with a red October and hopefully a long red October. And the Eagles, who are 3-0 after last night's win, with room to grow, and I expect them to get better. That's going to be a lot of fun as well. So looking forward to it, and I can't wait to be back home with you guys tomorrow and just sort of reliving everything else that we got going on, and then turning our attention to the Commanders, because all of a sudden it's Wednesday. So all of a sudden we'll be at the midweek point tomorrow, and we'll be talking Eagles Commanders, and we'll be looking around the NFC, and then, of course, also the Phillies, and hopefully getting into the playoffs. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much. I'm Andrew Salchunas. Best show ever next, right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
update.